Hello, hello out there. We'll be starting in just a minute. May and AR, why don't you talk so we can make sure they hear you fine?
I am talking. Good morning.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Are you seated comfortably?
It looks like levels are good and everything, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab the levels for later starting now. Okay, that should be good. Okay, you guys ready to go?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll warn you at some point, wife and baby are going to be crossing the room, so
Yeah, it
that'll be a
happens.
fun. Yeah, that'll
Okay.
be a fun distraction.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad I just muted my microphone because my dog started barking during the bit of silence.
I think I can hear the dog.
Yeah.
I can hear him now.
I can stop him if you want. It's just on the other side of the house.
Nah,
He's just very loud.
If you could put up with
Yeah.
my cat purring right next to the mic last time, I think I can.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah, I think we can deal with it, and I think the listeners can too.
He's a very good dog.
Ready to go?
Jeez.
Yep.
Welcome to the With the Will podcast. We're here to discuss and hopefully entertain you a bit about Digimon. I'm Mark. I run With the Will.
I'm AR Pulver, Digimon System Restorer, and you just missed me. I was wearing a tie yesterday.
Yay. And I'm May from Lost in Translation. As always, very tired. It is the morning. It is slightly earlier.
Yes, we had a few scheduling stuff, which is why it's Sunday, and big thanks to May for getting up early specifically to be here before work, if I remember.
Yeah, but the worst thing is, it's actually the normal time that I'm on the podcast because daylight savings just happened yesterday. I'm glad it was in this direction, not the other direction, because if it was the other direction, it would be 8 and I wouldn't be able to be on.
Yeah, you had messaged me last night. You're like, it's daylight savings time. I can only be on for half an hour.
I was wondering
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
But,
that
no, it's
That
all
explains
good.
a couple things, yeah.
Yeah, I think AR was trying to figure out why I was moving stuff around at the last minute, even though I had known May would have to duck out early, and it seemed like at the last minute I was running around like crazy.
Yeah. And the reason we're not doing this on Saturday is my cousin got married yesterday, and that still takes precedence.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it really did seem like me and AR would have to argue about stuff as we normally do.
I'll do some arguing this time. I'll try to. I'm very tired.
So how have the last 2 weeks treated everyone?
I hate Digimon so much. I don't like how I had to spend money on things. Because there's some wonderful person who's in Japan at the moment, and they had put up this big tick tail store, and they're like, "Hey, I'll just buy things for everyone," and I was just
Oh,
like,
no.
"Oh no, oh no."
See,
Oh,
I
no, 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 no.
see, I have
You have a new best friend.
You see, I have a similar situation. A friend of a friend who I know sent me a message. Hey, Mark, I'm going to the pop-up store on Friday. You want anything? It's like shit. Now I have to figure out what I can blow on what and what I want enough, and I want those stupid little plushes.
My
Yeah,
car
I-
needs 4 new tires. I'm not buying anything anytime soon.
Yeah,
I got new tires a couple of months ago, and it was rough.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I may end up waving off, but it's still I'm still in the thing of like, look at all the stuff I can choose from that will go on a shelf or something, and I probably won't ever use.
I splurged and got one of the Gomamon key charms last week at the dealer room at the con I was at. So that was my little splurge.
Did you put a picture of that up? I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you did. Yeah. So we have a lot to discuss. So maybe let's go ahead and get into it, shall we?
I don't remember what happened. Oh, get going. I'll remember.
First up, thanks to Kai, we actually had scans of the German Part 1 Blu-ray Steelbook, which,
That was so cool.
I really like it, but it feels like they just took the art and slapped it on there, and I'm still not sure how I feel about that, to be honest. Like, it's very nice, but there's no cohesion to it. It's just art, 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 art. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I do like the Yamato on the CD though, or on the disc.
Yeah, I for some reason I like the stupid little standee, and I don't know why I like it. I think because it's just like a random but neat bonus that they didn't have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, very neat, and I believe when he put that up, Kai was going to take photos of it standing around. And then, because I decided to spend my time not that wisely, when the Aikatoba CD showed up on Tuesday, and my brain went, well, I know what I need to do. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Which got done, and I still love all the art. I honestly, exactly.
It's good art.
Yeah, exactly what I wanted from the CDs. I liked the song, which we'll no doubt be discussing later. But I don't mind the multiple CD releases when they're priced well. So I felt that kind of worked here, even though I would have just preferred, like, just do a 4-song album with the 4 karaoke tracks and just make it more expensive with art. I'd have no issue with that. I don't think anyone really would. I still think the Koshiro and Mimi one is the best, though.
Yeah, that's my favorite as well.
Well, it's the only one where it feels like the art isn't slightly off in some way. Like, you know, where maybe an angle's wrong.
I see what you mean, yeah.
Yeah. And moving on from that, we started our Discord and our Patreon because we need to do more stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty active on the Discord. I know I don't post on the forums, but
yeah,
I am involved in the Discord channel. So
like, I remember opening the Discord. I'm like, man, it would be great if we could get like 10 or 15 or 20 people in here. And then it was like within a day there was like 80.
Discord's the thing now.
Yeah, I mean, it worked well. We put the little block up on the site. I still think I need to figure out what rooms we need and stuff like that. And so for now, I've sort of just been sitting at, we have a few rooms, let's leave it at that and see what happens. But it's going well. The Patreon's even jumped up a bit, which is good. And, you know, we'll see where everything goes. And it's time to move on to, well, a mini topic for now, because there'll be more to discuss with this later.
Yeah, I figure in like 2 weeks we can do a proper Appmon breakdown, like the whole series as a whole, maybe.
Probably right around then.
Yeah.
It depends if we're gonna still be discussing Try at that point.
I wouldn't mind stopping and taking a really good look at Appmon as a whole now, and then, you know, later on we can certainly revisit Try. We're certainly going to need to revisit Try, but Appmon 2 weeks from now, for sure. Let's break down Appmon properly, because once it's done, I mean, it's done. It's over, and I'm sad now.
As far as we know. The cast certainly does not seem to like the fact that it's done, but yes, Appmon's over, and I don't know, we decided to use the little original announcement image, which I still rather like, to be honest. Like, it works, but, like, I don't believe Gatchmon has the lines quite under his eyes like that. But yeah, you know, Appmon, it was a good Digimon series, and I think that may even be underselling it a little bit, but we'll be discussing that in the future.
Yeah, it's still sort of up for grabs whether I'm going to have it above or below at Adventure. I think the odds are it's probably going to be slightly above Adventure, which would put it fourth in my rankings. So that's if I put it above Adventure, that's sort of the mark of a good Digimon series.
Yeah, and of course the truth is we still have a few more months of Appmon stuff coming up, just not anything huge. It's just, you know, but we have some. There's still some stuff, so who knows what will pop up. I'm still.
Well, I'm not. I mean, I don't factor the manga or anything in there. So
see, I was more thinking, you know, we have the DVD release to finish up. The manga's going to be sooner rather than later. I'm still hoping we'll hear something about Appmon Gakuen.
Me too.
But yeah, none of that's going to change my impressions of.
Not at all. I just mean that there is still more Appmon stuff to come overall for people who like it. It's not just going to vanish instantly, as some anime does.
Yeah.
And then next up, I originally had a stand-in card for this, and then swapped it out after I tweaked the image. The poster for Part 6.
Oh, I thought we were gonna have final thoughts on Appmon just a little bit, at least the final episode, but
do you guys want to do that?
Just a quick
okay.
thoughts on it.
Back to Appmon. I haven't watched it yet, but I believe both of you guys have, so go ahead.
I've watched the Raw. May, if you've seen the sub, so if you want to.
Yeah, Jay and I watched the subs yesterday, and we recorded our episode on it, and it was just. I don't want to spoil it because it was just so good, but there were feelings, and both of us really, really enjoyed it. And Jay even said that's the best season of Digimon, and he actually wanted to. He came over and said, "Can we watch Appmon now?" Like, I was trying to hug him hello, and he said, "No, let's watch the Appmon finale because you said it was out."
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to see the sub yet, but it was kind of what I expected it to end. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's like, this is, you sort of think this is sort of how I imagine it wrapping up, and it sort of did that. There were a couple interesting twists on what I expected to happen.
Yeah.
And there were some things I didn't expect, and some of those I completely loved. Particularly with the epilogue. There's a couple things I'm not too sure about, a couple questions I still have. Again, I'm going to watch the sub before I really cast judgment on anything, and that we're trying to keep it spoiler-free for now.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw my review up on Tumblr later tonight, and as May said, the podcast will be up later this week, so we'll get our full thoughts up. But
yeah, makes sense.
It's so good.
Okay, here's a question for you, May. You've been one of the few people who have been grabbing the DVDs. If they announced Blu-rays the day after you got your DVD set, would you want Blu-rays for it? If next January you get your DVD set, and then they go, at the end of the year, we're going to have a big fancy Appmon Blu-ray box. Is the show good enough that you would go, fuck it, yeah.
I buy it so hard. Like, it would have, oh my god, I would die. I mean, I would definitely die. Like, it would be like, as expensive as the other Blu-rays, which are like, $300, $400.
Oh no, $5 to $6.
Oh yeah. It's like, it is rough, but I would totally buy it. Like, I'm awful. I'm complete and utter rubbish, but I would buy it. Like, I love Appmon. It's great. I die, but I buy it.
We need to keep the pressure on the official channels to get something licensed.
Yeah.
Like, we need to keep bugging people about that.
Well, here's the issue with Appmon. There's no one to bug for one reason. It's not a matter of that companies don't want it. It's a matter of that Toei has the vision in their head of merchandising.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but
they have the vision of the mass. It's the vision of mass market merchandising, and when they decide to go more reasonable in their dreams, more reasonable being just import a few of just import a few figures, a few plushes. You are not going to get tons of shelves at Walmart.
They can't sell it abroad at all if nobody picks it up.
Yeah, they need to give up on the. I mean, I know what their dream is. It's the Adventure 02 Tamers Frontiers years where you could just walk into a store and there'd just be an aisle of Digimon stuff. That's just not going to happen.
Which is sad because Appmon kind of deserves it.
It probably does, but it's just not going to happen. Frankly, what they should do is grab any toy that meets American safety requirements, throw it on the shelves with the show, doing 13 episodes every 6 months on whatever decent streaming service they can get on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
You never know. I mean, I saw official Digimon Fusion merchandise last year, so.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yep.
Oh yeah, there's still stuff being I believe some of the plushes are actually still being made. In fact.
Wow.
Well, still being I just don't know the term. Printed, made, whatever you want to call it.
Produced.
Yes, because those apparently are actually selling.
Jeez, I should go to America and buy some stuff.
That may.
And this is I say it's an Angie plush because it is Digimon Fusion labeled, not Cross Wars.
Yeah, I think that may have been what led to us getting the Adventure plushes in the first place.
Plush toys always sell.
Yeah, was the idea that if the show that couldn't even finish its run made it, then go back to the legacy stuff that just worked. But yeah, we're going to have much more to say about Appmon, even as it has sadly ended. and on to the poster. I really like this poster. I mean,
I kind of like it.
It looks good. It has some implications that I'm not sure I'm down with, but
yeah, a bit of a spoil about
wait.
I
feel like we should say, period, if you haven't seen Tri-Part 5 yet, go away. I mean, you should not be here.
You can listen to us later.
Yes.
We'll be up.
Go watch.
Can you put up like maybe a spoiler tag or something just during that time, just so people know when to maybe unmute it or something?
The problem is it's going to be spoilers for all of Tri-Part 5 in general, the show.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind. Yeah, just keep our filters up, because I'm sure I'll probably make some snide comments once we get to the merch.
Yeah, it's just, don't go away if you haven't seen it. This whole episode's going to be spoilers, and when the show goes up, I'm going to mention in the text to go away if you haven't seen it. So there's everyone's warning. I don't think anyone expected Taichi was actually going to be dead.
No, because haven't they said that they're working towards the epilogue?
There is a shocking amount of people who legitimately seem to have thought he was dead. Like, they're spoiling that he's not dead.
This is something I've said on Discord and Twitter. I'm never gonna fault someone for going with the suspense of what they're trying to sell. So thinking that he might be dead, I get the narrative logistics make it really clear that he isn't, but if you're gonna you're gonna open yourself emotionally to the series, then open yourself up emotionally to the series and believe let yourself believe what you want.
I absolutely agree in the sense of when it happens, but not when you're breaking it down later and thematically and everything. It's just not going to happen.
Right. I guess if there are people that really believe that Taichi is dead, I'm actually really excited about that, because that means that means it worked for them.
Yeah, that means they were really sold on that idea, which can be an incredibly hard thing to do, especially if you watch media to any extent. If someone dies and you're not looking at a corpse, the expectation is they're going to pop up 5 minutes later.
Something like that. Yeah.
So if someone really does believe he's dead, and maybe this is just a thematic poster, I'm willing to go with that. I just think logically I have no expectation that he's dead.
Yeah. At the same time, I'm concerned about where he is, and that's something I'm I can be a little worried about going forward.
He's in the grave with the O2 kids.
I hope he is, actually. I legitimately hope he is, and I think that's a legitimate theory.
I think there's too many legitimate theories that have popped around. But I like the poster. The only thing that I'm curious about is very interesting. There is no negative figure that's strictly negative here, minus the feather being representative
of... The feathers represent the negative figure.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not doesn't this one more than any other feel like there's maybe something we're not seeing just off to the right?
I get what you're saying.
Even the positioning of the feathers almost makes it look like there's something there. I'm not saying there is, but...
New evolution of Vamdemon?
Well, we saw those feathers at the end of Part 5, so that's what those are.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks really good. I don't like that Mako is being singled out in her position, because as when you leave Part 5, it feels like Mako and Hikari are now in the same boat. So I don't like them being kind of separated for each other, and Hikari's on the top when really both of them should be on the bottom, or all 9 of them should be together.
See, I'm not.
Yeah, and Hikari looks fine.
I'm not sure Hikari is in the same boat. I think there was a moment that caused something that maybe.
No. I mean.
But what I mean,
in terms of what happens in Part 6, sure, we can speculate on that. I'm just saying that for the poster purposes, it doesn't quite sell that as effectively as I had hoped.
See, I think it sells the overall theme of Tri, though, which is maybe what they want for the final poster.
Perhaps.
This?
I think after Part 5, I think Mako should be with the entire group. instead of kind of being off on her own, especially given what happens with Hikari.
Yeah, but I think just with Tri in general, she is sort of the extra character.
She is, and I wish they'd stop treating her like that.
She's the story representation character of Tri, and it is still like we could we can generally guess that Hikari and Tailmon are going to be fine. We're not quite 100% sure what's gonna go on. Even being generically media savvy, I'm not sure I 100% have a good, that I know what's gonna happen to those two.
And if that's Mako's fate, I also wish they wouldn't tease that in part 6. Like, if Mako's gonna die in the end, I don't want that to be kind of
I'm not
suggested to me in advance.
I'm not sure this is teasing that she's gonna die. I think it's teasing that they need to save her. Whether they do or don't is a different thing.
Well, that goes back to my previous point, where if they try to and fail, they fail in their mission, and that's. It's kind of a knock against them, which isn't a good thing to have in the final.
Yeah, but unfortunately stuff happens, and there aren't always happy endings.
Yeah, but anyway.
But we'll see. And next up, the topic for the episode, which is, of course, the next part of a beloved media franchise that we all love, Star Fox 2.
I haven't played Star Fox 1.
But yeah.
But are we ignoring the fact that Wizarmon's in the poster?
We're ignoring the fact. We're ignoring the fact. We can clearly see something that we believe to be Wizardmon at this point. We're ignoring it because it's not quite clear enough visually at this point to be 100% sure.
It's his hat.
The 2 points
it's certainly his hat.
Yeah, we've been burned by that sort of thing before, and 2. If it is, I think that'd be kind of appropriate because Wizardmon's return was kind of hinted at in part 4. So,
but yeah,
I wouldn't mind if Wizardmon comes back. It would not surprise me.
It's definitely his hat. I just don't want to. At least me personally, I want to see a clear shot before I put more thought into it. Because, well, like AR said, we've kind of been burned on guesstimating based on what we think we're seeing, and then we get a more clear photo, and it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, we thought Bakuman was going to be an important part of Part 4, as, based on what Bakuman can do, and it was just that was a Digimon.
I completely forgot about the plot theorizing based on him being there.
Yeah, like it was all part of a dream or something.
Or like they were going to restore the memories using him and Nightmare. I completely forgot about that because that was a really logical thing to assume just based on those characters.
There was a lot of speculation about that. Like, that was sort of the speculation about how Part 4 was going to go down, and then we get to Part 4, and Bakuman had nothing to do with anything.
Well, that's also because it didn't even require generic speculation. That is what the character does.
Right. Every time Bakuman has appeared in any Digimon media, it does something funky with people's dreams.
Yeah. It didn't even occur to people that it would just be an character. That it would just be there.
Man, Maki must have been able to mess with people back in the day.
Yeah, unless she was like completely sane when she was a kid and then she just...
Oh no, she was completely sane back as a kid, but she had the potential.
Yeah. Though it's the same sort of thing as in the Tri Chapter 5 poster, how we see Hikari's whistle, and that was not relevant.
Well, but that's also kind of representative of the character.
It was thematically relevant. Yeah. I liked having the whistle in there because that was a good hint.
Now,
we didn't see it in the movie though.
No.
Oh, you didn't see it in the movie, but what the whistle represents came back in a huge way.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, try Part 5 overall. The one question that I thought of while putting this together was for you, AR.
Uh-oh.
Did you get enough Hikari for you? Because that was a concern that we discussed at length.
My answer would be almost.
But
not enough to say it was a bad movie. I really enjoyed the movie. I think it could have used just a little bit more. What I wanted from Hikari is to introduce a problem and introduce her solving the problem in this movie. All we got was problem.
No, I think she did try to solve it. It just created a bigger problem.
Well,
which was her.
Yeah, well, her her standing up to homeostasis, which was an awesome moment.
Yes.
I wish we had.
I
wish we had more of it, and I wish we had a more conclusive.
Yeah.
I wish it had been more conclusive what happened there.
But I think that was her moment of kicking down the door.
That was
basically.
her moment of right. But again, like we didn't really get a good development of her noticing. Like we weren't even sure she was aware that homeostasis was going through her. So suddenly she's fighting back against it. And that moment was great and all, but the setup to it was sort of not there, and the resolution to it was sort of inconclusive. So it was a nice moment, but I don't really consider that part of.
See,
part
I
of
saw it as an inversion of what Try has generally done up to this point, where at least in her case, rather than it being a one film focus, we got elements in each one which focused here, and then when her moment came, it inverted to, we did get the new evolution, just not the one that it should have been.
Yes, sort of.
Where it inverts.
And like I've said before, I don't know if I like that being applied to Hikari in general based on who she is and what sort of development she's had in the past. But what I was getting to about her ending is, when you introduce her problem, like, we know what her problem is now. Like, everyone has their problem at the beginning of their movie that sort of comes to some sort of resolution at the ending of it. We get Hikari's problem. We know for damn sure what Hikari's problem is. The issue with that is we don't get a conclusion, and we now need to trust Part 6 to challenge her and resolve that problem. So that's still kind of open-ended, and why I'm still going to be patient on that. I can put a pin in Hikari's development and say, okay, later, let's see what you've got.
I think it's easier to, as you put it, put a pin in it and wait when it wasn't Part 4 of 6 or Part 5 of 7. This was leading into Part 6, and we sort of did need a bridge moment like that.
Yeah, Hikari's sort of... Yeah, I suppose that's true. But now, even based on the poster, we really have to just kind of cross our fingers and hope they're going to revisit that. Like, I can't be completely confident that they will.
Part 6 starts...
And that's something that has me a little nervous.
Part 6 starts and Hikari's perfectly okay.
That's what I don't want. We better not get that.
Part 6 starts and Hikari tracks down the mysterious man and smacks him in the head.
Yay!
Although I will say this,
there's a lot of characters.
I will say this: were the visuals of him this time just much better than before? Like, we got the creepy, like the upside down is all purpley.
Yeah.
It felt more purposely villainish.
Yeah, and he showed up as the Kaiser for about 30 seconds for no reason.
Yeah.
And that was really creepy.
Yeah, they're really pushing that idea that he has to have the Kaiser form in the real world, and I wish they'd kind of explained that a little better on how that works.
Although we did,
I have a couple ideas,
like,
but
certain things he said did seem to not necessarily clarify bits, but give us clues to bits.
Right. It's like clues are nice. That's something I wouldn't mind getting explained, and I'm not sure they're going to.
Who knows? But yeah, I found it interesting that he seemed to clarify that he seems to have been around as him prior to Adventure.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't sound like it's just someone possessing Jedi.
Right.
So it'll be kind of interesting to find out if we do get his deal.
Yeah, I hope so. I generally wasn't really feeling Mysterious Man. He was just sort of commenting on what was going on.
I kind of like that after he had a more physical role in Part 4. Like, him just kind of being around and kind of being a jackass this time. Like, just giving random philosophy type stuff was kind of interesting to me.
Though I'm personally still feeling the idea that the little ball that Piedmon put it back in his back before Adventure is relevant.
Yeah, that would
hopefully.
Be so good if that came back.
See, I kind of don't want it to be, because I always like that one explanation in the audio drama when it's brought up, and I don't remember if it was Jedi or Koshiro who brings it up in conversation, and they go, yeah, it didn't really seem to do much. Yeah. I just kind of like the dismissing of it. And I believe we got a vague explanation of it in the novels, which probably don't count, but they've used some stuff from it for here.
Where it made him old, didn't it?
I believe it was that it was somehow restricted his movements. I don't believe we got clarification on what that actually meant, but it was apparently meant to explain why he wouldn't just show up to help in Adventure.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Okay. I don't remember if there was a solid explanation for it, though. Just that I believe it somehow restricted his ability to move around. Whether that, is making him old, making it so he just can't physically move, or somehow is actually holding him in some fashion, I don't know. But I feel like if it was going to be more with the ball, we would have gotten more of the Dark Masters.
I can see where you're coming from with that, yeah.
Like they could easily say that this was just a corrupting influence that was just meant to happen someday. But it feels like we almost needed some sort of speech during the flashback scene from Paimon if they were going to go that way, for me at least.
I could see that, but at the same time I could also see that if they use that for a really cheap explanation in movie 6, I think a lot of people are going to be satisfied by that.
Oh yeah, I think if we get any explanation for him that makes logical sense,
that's also fair.
People will generally be okay with it, as long as it's not just, and he was an evil guy, and oh look, there's Jedi. Goodbye.
I think for a lot of people, the bar for a lot of things is any logical explanation will do.
Well, I think it especially does work for Tri, because Tri has been very mysterious. Isn't quite the word I want to use. It's kept things very close to the chest.
Yeah. So
as long as the end answer makes sense, I generally think it's okay in the way that it's done its story.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. It's weird that it's not quite mysterious, and that it's really hard for us to suss it out based on the kind of hints we're given. Yeah. But in the end, there's so many things that we do want answers for. Exactly. Like we're not. It feels like we're not supposed to try to figure this out, but we're going to try anyway.
Yes.
And there is an element of frustration.
I do feel like the one thing I do want to comment on, because it's been coming up a lot the last few days, and I know you've noticed it also, AR, because we talked about it a bit, is there's a lot of people who seem to think that they don't know what they're doing in the writing. I think it's very clear that they've done everything they want to do, period. That it appears to me that they know exactly where they're going. They're just choosing not to share it with us.
I think there's a difference to talk about here, in that I think the series composition has been very good. Like the overall structure and where they want to go in the movie series, like from part 1 to part 6, like this is what we want to introduce in each movie, this is the general story as a whole, that has been excellent. It's the execution in each individual movie that I think we can find some faults with.
I think there is fault with it. It's also part of how much you're willing to go along with the idea that maybe you have to wait to get the answers.
There's an element of you have to trust they know what they're doing.
Yes.
There's also an element of some of the way they're portraying the things they have to check off the list
is a bit eye-rolly.
There are spots where they do definitely have some issues with that.
Yeah. I think part of the issue is it is a story in 6 parts. It's not 6 stories that make a whole, if that makes sense. And I think maybe in the marketing they never really clarified that detail very well. Minus with the titles.
Yeah, but that again is, that's something where I do wish each movie worked better as its own movie. And I feel like only a couple of them even attempt to do that.
See, I guess ironically, considering I just called them parts, I've almost viewed them more like a book where I've had to stop and wait in between chapters, but that I still know it's one thing.
And in that regard, I actually don't mind the Crunchyroll putting them up as episodes. It's very frustrating when you're watching it when you're actually watching it, but kind of stepping back and looking at all of them as different episodes, you kind of do see it more as something as a whole instead of individual movies.
You know, I was generally happy with the episodic editing this time minus one thing, and that cut with Mako bothers the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Which one was that?
At the end of part 3, and they reused it at the beginning of part 4, where they're very clearly like, there's nowhere else we will be able to cut the episode. We have to do it right here. And
see, the one that I thought was a bit awkward was when they're talking about the switch, and Koshiro just says a switch, and it ended, and it was just kind of like, strange. Oh, that's awkward. And then they replay it to start the next one.
That was supposed to be some sort of a suspenseful bump, bump, bum moment, but that bump, bump, bum never really happened. It's just the switch.
I guess in that case, with the switch happening, my brain just went, okay, it's a dramatic cut. With the Mako one, it was like something was happening, and then they just pulled it really fast. Like
it's sort of like the way movie 4 as a whole ended, where you're expecting that beat at the end there.
Well, see,
and that beat never happened. Like it's just he said that cut.
See, but movie
instead of he says that beat, maybe a reaction, then cut.
See, to be honest, I kind of like the way movie 4 ended because it cuts before the beat where you quite know what's going on. It just sort of kills it, sort of. That I didn't mind. The one here just annoyed the hell out of me. I
disagree, but that's a part 4 discussion.
Yeah. Here, it just annoyed me because just repeat the animation for a couple seconds, draw out the music, fade to black properly. It just did not work the way they did it. Yeah. It just cuts way too fast.
I tend not to really look at or criticize the way episodes end too much because we sort of know that it's being presented a little bit differently. So I don't really...
see, I do criticize it because realistically, they're going to air it this way at some point. And I would hope that if they do, they fix certain issues.
Yeah. If they do air it like that, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree that more attention needs to be paid to that.
Yeah. I mean, I assume they're doing it kind of quickie here, but we'll see. So, the postcard. Do you guys know why I didn't want to talk about it before now?
Yeah. No, I got you.
I still don't really understand like what was. I mean, it was just a moment in the film.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like.
Well, because AR wanted to talk.
No. I understand. Are we going to talk about that moment? Is that?
Yeah, I think that was kind of a high point moment for everyone.
It wasn't for me. No.
Really?
Actually, no. I
love that whole scene.
I liked it too.
I think it could have been executed. I understand the need for it. Like that was a point where we needed a little bit of levity introduced into it. And some of the reactions and some of the characters in there were fantastic. Like that specific part of Yamato having his fears about that and everyone kind of whispering about that and making fun of him about that. That was fantastic. It's just some of the, Takeru out of the blue saying, hey, let's tell scary stories, that felt a little arbitrary. And some of the ways that they were telling those stories and some of the stories that were told felt a little flat to me. I actually thought that was one of the weaker parts of this.
The flat stories is the flat scary stories is like an anime tradition though, where it's always nonsense, sort of. And either we're supposed to take them as nonsense or we're supposed to take it as too serious.
Yeah, it's just that like Joe's story felt a little trite to me, and Mako's didn't really feel like it. The reactions to her, the way she was telling the story, I think were a little oversold. Like, I didn't think her story was particularly scary, but everyone was reacting like it was the most horrifying thing they'd ever
but that's the thing. It's generically meant to be in-universe a scary story, and we just don't care. That's how you do that type of scary story for a gag, is you can't have it be a story where you're actually worrying about the story.
It really reminds me of a scary story that a character tells you in Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal about a bicycle, and you have to go to a place in, I think it's Celadon City at night after 6, I think, and he tells you a scary story about a bicycle, and it's very similar. It just reminded me of that.
I believe I don't remember what the actual story is, but the bicycle following you story comes up in media a lot.
Yeah, because that's horrible. But
Yeah.
bicycles are scary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I see. I do disagree with you about one thing. I thought Joe's thing was the best. I looked at the sheet and I saw my grade. And just like everyone's just like, well, that's certainly Joe.
Yeah, like that sucked.
Yeah, but also, did anyone notice what may have been the most egregious outright advertising we've seen in Try?
What was that?
Patamon on his head in the exact pose of the hat.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I did not catch that.
Like,
which means it wasn't apparently not egregious marketing if nobody saw it.
See, to me it looked like the exact way they drew him was exactly the hat in every way. Like the way the feet were, the way it just looked almost identical to the hat to me. I thought it was outright marketing, but maybe I just oversaw something that wasn't there.
I'll try to keep an eye on Patamon. There weren't really a lot of reasons to pay attention to Patamon in this movie, and maybe that's part of it.
Did Patamon speak?
Yes.
I believe he did, but
okay.
Patamon and Takeru were one of the least involved characters in this movie.
Can we talk about one of my favorite elements was during the Taichi and then Agumon talking to Mako speech, the Digimon commenting on it?
The Digimon are the biggest shippers.
That was cute.
That's what I saw it as also, but I started going, no, I'm just seeing something that's not there.
I think that's how we're supposed to interpret it, though.
It felt like mocking shippers.
A little bit, yeah.
Like mocking the aspect
and
of...
I love when they do that.
Yeah.
Like that one episode of Cross Wars where Lilamon started shipping Akari and Zenjiro was fantastic. I just loved the concept.
But yeah, it felt like to me they were mocking every possible ship thing. They're talking, I need to tell...
Yeah,
this girl, I need to tell his sister. And then Gabumon's like, I need to tell Yamato.
Yeah, do we need to tell Yamato?
Yeah, that scene worked well for me.
Yeah, why does anyone need to tell anybody? Yeah, that was a cute little reaction.
See, but that was also like a perfect Tentomon reaction. Was him being the logical person who knows stuff and just going, what does this have to do with anything?
Yeah, I know, I like that too.
Yeah. And well, Tentomon's always great for just those random moments of nothing, sort of, where he just chimes in.
And that was sort of a nice little way to break that up a little bit, because I think everyone's sort of wondering if Taichi, everyone sort of thought Taichi and Mako were going to be a thing when Mako was introduced, and we go for movies without it. We go for movies without anything happening. And it's like, okay, and then suddenly they bring out a lot of Taichi Mako situations here, and I don't find them necessarily shippy on their own. But just the fact that they were talking a lot with each other. We're going to raise those comments.
But it's also a matter of thematically of the leader / main character talking to the new person / person bad thing happened to. And also,
I completely agree. I think the scenes were generally really good.
But I just mean, people...
was going to raise those kind of comments.
Yeah, but I feel like anytime characters look at each other, it raises those comments. So it becomes hard to differentiate between, is this actually something, or is this just another example of we're looking at it from the perspective of fans who are looking for something.
And I think we're still in that nice area of ambiguity there with those two. Like, I don't think... Like, other people are saying, oh, great, they're married now. I'm like, no, this is just Taichi's movie to be with Mako. Like, Mimi had her movie, Takeru had his movie, Sora had her movie, and now it's Taichi's turn. Yeah, it's all the same to me.
Yeah, but, like, in the sense of... I've seen people say, like, it was really egregious shipping in Part 5, and it's like, really? There really... was... Like, I don't think every conversation characters have counts as shipping. You can ship them based on it, but it didn't feel like ship teasing from the crew in this specific case, which is funny because they've teased stuff every chance they've gotten.
Oh, there was a little bit of deliberate teasing in there, but I wouldn't call it anything like leaning towards this is going to happen.
No, it was at most minor little winks and nudges. And not anything more so than we got for anyone else, including the characters that we just know that's not going to happen for.
Right.
Like ship teasing aside, it's not going to be Taichi and Yamato. Epilogue arguments aside. That is not going to happen here. So overall, since May won't be able to stay too much longer, May, how do you feel about it overall?
Overall, I personally found a little bit on the disappointing side. I personally wanted a bit more focus on Hikari rather than Mako, which it's fine to have focus on Mako because she is the character for the movie. But I feel like we only had focus on Hikari for like the second, like not the last part of the movie, like the part 4 of the chapter, and it was just. It wasn't too much focus, and there was a lot of times where people were just repeating the same thing to Mako about why she was special, and it's fine. It's important to have that discussion because she's feeling sad. They were trying to cheer her up, but I just found those scenes were just personally just a bit repetitive, and I don't know. It was slightly more boring than I wanted it to be, and maybe it's because I got my expectations and hopes up far too high for this movie, and I was focused on like, oh, we're going to get Hikari snapping, and we're going to have all these moments about Hikari's struggle and Hikari's like worries and concerns and stresses, and she's being taken over by homeostasis. And while we did get a scene where she was telling homeostasis to get fucked, and that was a good scene, I felt like
that was the best way to put it possible.
Well, she does.
No,
she basically
did.
says get fucked,
right,
but it's
right.
Yeah. And and we got the scene of the Dark Ocean in Maki, and that was great, but I would have liked the movie to show the similarities that Maki and Hikari have, because I think that they're very similar, because they've both been possessed by homeostasis. They've both been in the Dark Ocean. Has Maki been in the Dark Ocean before?
See, I think this is kind of... I think
spotlight the similarities between Hikari and Maki.
I think this is kind of where it being a multi-part story where we're sort of expected to remember that they dealt with that aspect in 4. Whether or not it makes sense to not clearly cover it again when they're going to use it is an argument to be made, but I feel like they covered that enough in part 4 in the flashback.
Yeah, I found plenty of parallels between Hikari and Maki clued in there that I was okay with.
But
another one that kind of snuck by is there's suddenly a little bit of a tie between Daigo and Takeru in comparison, in relation to that, just with Daigo kind of responding a little bit to their messages of hope. Like he's going, hope, yeah, down with hope. So like you sort of now see Daigo being the Takeru to Maki's Hikari.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what May's saying is, though, she would have liked more parallel being drawn here when they're showing you stuff happening.
And that's something I agree with. Like, Hikari really, snapping when she watched her brother, fall like that. I wanted something in this movie to kind of remind us that, yeah, she has kind of this unhealthy fixation with her brother.
Yep.
It's been clued at in the first 4 movies. There's been enough signs of that in there, and anyone who's watched the first 2 seasons knows that this is totally a thing.
Yeah.
I really wanted one more reminder early on in this movie, and there were opportunities to do that, and they kind of didn't.
I think that was kind of on purpose, the idea being that they chose not to telegraph it, and rather it happens, and then she just breaks down.
But it's not really telegraphing. Like, there are plenty of moments that aren't necessarily going to mean a whole ton, that you just go, yep, that's a character moment. You don't necessarily know whether or not that's going to come back later. Like, Takeru not wanting to talk to Mom, that's a definite character moment. Like, we all nod and go, oh, that's still kind of something to look at. That probably won't be a factor later on.
Takeru, wasn't that Yamato?
Or did I say Takeru? Sorry, Yamato.
I think you did.
Mom,
my brain was jumping between trying to figure out who was doing what now.
Yeah, but that was just a character moment that we all sort of understand that there's baggage going on there. We don't know if that's going to come on. That's the sort of moment I wanted to see with
the other thing
Hikari's
is
dependence on
that's also kind of a weird cultural thing that we don't quite have, where at least my understanding of it is when divorces happen and the kids go with parent A or parent B, that's generally it.
Right, but it's it's still a thing, and I was just citing that as an example.
Yeah.
It's just something like that.
No.
Like
I know.
What could have been a throwaway moment with Hikari towards Taichi that had been throwaway moments in the earlier movies. One of those in movie 4 would have helped me out a lot.
I don't disagree. I guess my view is and I understand it's kind of hard to take it that way when these are released far apart. I'm just kind of looking at it as a whole, and that may not even be the way to look at it, is the thing.
Yeah, and I understand that, and that's why I was still generally okay with Hikari snapping like that. I mean, as soon as you see that, you see Hikari's reaction and go, okay, here we go, and you buy that absolutely.
Yes.
But just something a little bit early, just something a little bit more recent.
See,
I would have liked. And that goes into having a little more Hikari.
Well, I think part of the reason why I'm more, for lack of a better term, casual about Hikari getting less focus. I think I was prepared. I think I even brought it up an episode or two ago where I basically said I kind of expected her to be the Koshiro this time, where she's doing stuff and it's more the realization maybe at the very end rather than a more ongoing element.
Yeah, but I think Koshiro in movie 3 had more than Hikari had in movie 5.
So, since the chat room's demanding it, shall we discuss Digimon and his new bride?
Yeah, the Dark Ocean showing up. I got out of the couch, and I despite having a migraine, I jumped up and said yes, because this is something I wanted since I was a little kid.
I was ready. I'm guys, don't expect the Dark Ocean to come back. There's definitely ways to incorporate it. There's,
honestly,
it's just not something I expect. But then it actually happened with Maki, and I'm like, yes.
I will say this in all honesty, and I know in general people are going to disagree with me. If that's the last we saw of the Dark Ocean and Maki, I'd have no issue with it.
Yeah, but
there is something immensely creepy about it just showing up to just go, and this character fell into the darkness. The end. I would not have an issue with that.
But where's Demon? Isn't Demon meant to be banished there for all eternity? How come he's not standing there and saying, "Hey, what's up"?
But we don't even know what that means in that context. He could be shoved to the bottom of the ocean, unable to move forever, for all we know. We don't know the context of him being there.
I think if you're going to introduce the Dark Ocean, it has to be involved a little more, just having... And then Maki got sucked into the Dark Ocean. The end is not really a good, satisfying way to resolve her story arc.
I think...
And it's really appropriate given what her problem was.
I think it is appropriate for her problem because her problem was that she wasn't willing to let it go for anything. She had her goal and everyone else be damned. And maybe she damned herself. I'm not saying that's how I want it to end. I'm saying if it ended that way, I would have no issue with it. If that was the end, I would go, that is a interesting conclusion for that character, and I don't hate this.
Perhaps, but I wouldn't necessarily buy it. Especially, if she died, then that's fine, but there has to be some sort of follow-up to that. Daigo has to get involved with that. Daigo was great in this movie, by the way. But he has to be involved with that. I think there's too many potential areas to explore with the Dark Ocean now. Especially given the way movie 6 ended. It looked like the Dark Ocean was flooding the real world.
See, I didn't see it that way. I saw it more as the callback to when the world started going topsy-turvy at the end of the Vamdemon stuff.
That could be.
But let me clarify one detail. It's an acceptable ending for Maki if we see nothing else of the ocean or Maki. If they flash to it again, they have to deal with it in a different way.
Okay.
I only see it as acceptable if they go, and then the character was damned to the dark ocean world, the end. If they flash to her or it at all, then they need to deal with it further. Does that more make sense, what I mean?
I understand where you're coming from. I'm not sure I agree. I think there's other stuff we can talk about right now, though. I think there's a lot going on in this movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, with my overall thoughts, I wouldn't say this necessarily met my expectations. It was very different than what I expected. I like I said about the stuff with Hikari, it didn't do quite everything I had hoped for.
I feel like Hikari's stuff was completely 180 from what we expected. I feel like people expected that Hikari was going to full on freak out, and that was going to lead to actual conflict involving her in some fashion, rather than just she breaks and then everything goes nuts.
But yeah, if I may, I mean, it was very different than what I expected, but I still liked what we got. Like, I really loved how deep everything got with both the content in that ending, you know, how insane that got, and with the sort of character explorations. Those really went to the bone with with so many different characters. We look at this being a Mako focused movie, and if you're doing a rewatch and you're sick of Mako, don't pay attention to what Mako's doing. Pay attention to what all of the other kids are saying to her. That's really important stuff. Like, I took some notes here. Like, when Sora is telling her, "Don't close yourself off," she's a character who closes herself off all the time.
Yes. And I actually liked when Sora brought up that fact that she does that.
Yeah, and you've got Mimi, who is accused of being self-centered in movie 2, and acknowledging that neither she nor Palmon are perfect.
Yes.
That they kind of balance each other out. That's a huge thing for her. Yamato is talking about how it's not always about your partner listening to you all the time. He got in so much trouble because Gabumon did listen to him way too much and obeyed his instructions and did something really stupid.
The other thing that I really liked was the aspect of they didn't necessarily break that down. We have the two god characters and one is good, one is evil. I like that they didn't do that. They both have their goals.
Yeah. Well, they never portrayed homeostasis. Never acknowledges itself as good or evil. It is homeostasis is the ultimate lawful neutral.
Yes, but what I mean is it's taken as good due to Adventure and 02, and to a degree try up to this point.
With that point, a lot of things that we just assume are good about Adventure or 02, those are what really gets challenged. Like, we get like the idea of being selected to get your Digimon partner and go save the world. Like, that very concept is under attack in this movie, and I really like that. Like, it's saying, like, no, this is not necessarily a good thing. The idea of this strange entity choosing you to be partnered with this potentially dangerous monster and do its bidding is really fucked up.
Well, it's also always been slightly unclear just how much control or involvement homeostasis has over that. Whether it's something that happens and homeostasis takes advantage of, like it explicitly did with the Adventure kids, or whether it's actually somehow actively involved in the process. I like that we don't really know. I mean, most people take it as homeostasis creates it and so forth. The only information we really know about that is that something was happening and homeostasis took advantage of it on behalf of the kids in Adventure to give them the best chance possible. And
but along with that, it's like it does all this, and it works fine the first couple times, but now we're reaching the situation where the chosen children situation is not really working for it, and Homeo says, "Move, I'll take care of this myself," and the kids are obviously not okay with that.
I think it's time for May to say goodbye.
Yeah, sorry, I have to go to work.
Yeah, it happens.
And be able to afford Digimon stuff.
I'm sure May would rather stay here with us, and I'm sure that me and AR will later spin horribly out of control.
I'm sure this conversation will continue later. Like, I do want to get to Appmon next time, but I feel like revisiting this movie later on, because this is a really challenging movie.
Yeah.
Like, even if you really like it, this is a hard one to process.
Yeah, that's why even though Jay and I weren't particularly fond of it, we still did 2 episodes about it because there was so much stuff that we didn't say, and there was so we got so many messages about our listeners' opinions on Try that we had to cover it twice. So so there's still a lot to think about.
And I generally really enjoyed it. This is probably going to be my second or third favorite of the Try series, but there are definitely a few missteps and overreaches. That I'll talk about them more in my blog. But like this movie does do certain things wrong for sure. It is like I said, this is a challenging movie. Would be the best way to describe it.
We'll get back to Try Part 5. May is going to get to work.
Oh yeah, well I've got to have breakfast and then I'll get to work.
Yeah. Thank you for waking up early, May.
No, that's all right. Thank you for having me, and
Great.
Enjoy the rest of the live stream.
Have a good day. We'll talk to you later.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I have 714 words of notes for this podcast. Hopefully I will save my pot for the blog.
You wrote way too many notes, AR.
I was just jotting stuff down as I was watching it a second time yesterday morning.
What we're going to do is, we're going to take a break from Try and we're going to move on to the news, and then me and AR are going to swing back to Try and talk until we both hate each other.
Here's what I think we should do is, Mark, why don't you kind of go into the news and kick that off, and while you're doing that, why don't I pay attention to the live chat and people can kind of drop specific questions about Try. I'll keep track of those.
That makes perfect sense. Let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so first up, we have our first English trailer for Digimon Lynx, and it's shockingly identical to the Japanese version from what I can tell. At this point, we have the proper English terms rather than the mishmash that Heroes has. It looks like Lynx. There's signups on Google Play. They've reconfirmed an iOS version. I will be seeing it sooner rather than later.
It was funny. I was watching the Appmon live stream, and they had a Lynx commercial at the end of the show, and I'm like, is this the same music as the English trailer?
The trailer that we got, as I recall, is shockingly similar to the trailer from right before the game came out in Japan.
Yeah, it was, but now, I mean, it wasn't quite the same content, but
No.
I think the music was the same.
Yeah. That's it for Lynx for now. I would not be shocked if it's out by the time of the next episode, though. Like, saying 2 weeks does not feel like a stretch, considering we have a website, we have a trailer, we have signups. The game is done. I mean, it exists. It just has to be translated, and it looks pretty translated in the trailer to me, at least. I think that's it for Lynx. And we have a preview of the second Appmon manga volume. I still really love the art for the manga, but every once in a while something looks off to me. I mean, AR, you've never been the biggest on the manga. What do you think of the cover?
It does look a little strange. Like, I've only read a couple chapters of the manga. It's like they do things differently. Like, it doesn't even feel like the art style is particularly consistent with what they've done before.
I like the art style, at least here. The only thing on the cover that just does not work visually for me is Eugen's face and hair just doesn't look right to me.
Yeah, Eugen's face is really strange in this.
Like, it doesn't even feel like, in the case of Haru, it feels like an art style difference. And with Eugen, it doesn't
like that
feel
still looks,
right.
That still looks like Haru. I'm not sure that entirely looks like Eugen.
That's my only issue. That will be out in the next few days, and I'm sure I'll have something involved whenever that shows up. Memori Suzuka's radio show was on a week and a half ago, and she had Mihu Arakawa, and it's an anime music radio show, and once again, there's no recording of it that we've been able to track down. It was geo-locked. There just wasn't much to do in that case for us, but, we still try to track them down if we can. I sort of hate Japanese theaters. The amount of Try crap they get, just like...
I'm jealous.
Like, I joked with Part 4, like, I even looked up when I was writing this so I could make sure I was doing it the way I'd done before, and it was like, I go, there's like 100 things here, that sure is a lot, and then here they do over 110, it's just like, Jesus Christ. Like, it just, and like some of its reprints of stuff that went out of print a while ago, and so much of it I just kind of want. I mean, I'm not gonna go over everything. It's basically a lot of stuff we've seen before, along with the new keychains are very nice. The Omegamon and Ophanimon keychains, which are apparently like metallic-y. Those I like. They do the can badges we talked about. They're the exclusive one here is Taichin War Greymon, and we've had confirmation that the Metal Garurumon Yamato one was in fact exclusive to limited base to the pop-up shops. Just lots of stuff to go over, and of course the Tri-Part 5 theater version Blu-ray. Just lots of good stuff. For some reason, I still really like the smartphone rings, even though they're like the stupidest thing ever. You just slap them onto the back of your smartphone, and you prop up a little ring part to have a little stand. Just too much stuff to go over, but all very good. People are gonna have their friends in Japan grab them lots of stuff. And still on the theater for Tri-Part 5, we finally got the Week 3 theater gift images from Atsuya Uki. This is some of the best tri-art we've actually gotten. I love the art here. I mean, what did you think of it, AR? Who has apparently wandered off temporarily. I don't know, I just like the costumes. They feel different than the last batch of Halloween art. Mimi and Palmon's costumes are a touch creepier than you would expect. But, I just feel like the artworks overall, I kind of hope when we get the Week 4 stuff that it will be sketch versions of these, because I just like every aspect of them. And moving on from that, they pretty quickly at the end of the...
Sorry, I had my mic muted there.
Okay, you are here then.
Oh yeah, I'm totally here. We've gotten a lot of questions, so I was kind of...
Let me pop that art back up so you can comment on it.
Art. No, I've got it pulled up. This is the Halloween art.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really like it. I agree that Mimi it's completely, that's a different look for her, but I also think that is totally something she would pull out on a random Halloween.
But I love Palmon, just like the Jason mask.
Yeah. I think is she the only one that's okay? No, I don't. Yeah, she is the only one who's really playing along here. I don't see anyone else in cast.
Well, we see Gabumon holding a pirate hat. I think
that's Yamato's hat.
But yeah, he's the only one who's actively dealing with a costume. Mm-hmm. But I think it also fits with Palmon, because they sort of play with Palmon being like the generically cutesy partner.
She's game.
Yeah.
Hikari's really... I do like that Hikari looks pretty cute, and Sora has... Sora knows what she likes to do for Halloween. Like, she has kind of a vision that sort of...
Hikari...
It's a little different than we might have expected, but Sora's like, I can design this costume, I'm rocking this.
Hikari's look more like she's kind of annoyed that she has to deal with costumes.
Yeah.
Like, she's not angry to be there, but she's kind of annoyed that she had to deal with it. And jumping back to Kittyland, they did plush keychains of some of the partner costumes using the designs from the original Kittyland promotion. And I don't know if these are the most amazing things ever or just terrible.
Yeah, some kind of look a little weird to me.
I mean,
I'm not quite sold on these.
Well, it's like I look at them and I go, wow, they're so awesome, and then I keep looking at them like, well, I don't know, I like them, but I'm not sure about these for some reason.
Yeah, I think the faces could have been designed a little better.
I feel like in that case they probably tried to be too accurate to the art, rather than going with, oh yeah, we actually need to make the product work. So go ahead and tweak stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On to yet another product, the Tri-Part 5 Blu-ray, which is, not the theater version, of course.
Mm-hmm.
the proper release is November 2nd, and if you order from Amazon, who does not discount their exclusive version in any way, you get a very, very nice cloth poster of Taichi and Hikari.
That is such a cool poster.
Yeah. All of them have been really good, especially since they have not 100% obligated themselves to matching the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like they went with Meiko and Mimi for part 2, and Joe was in part 3.
Yeah.
But this one just looks especially good, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Especially,
yeah, I really like part 5, and they've all been really good. Part 4 was wonderful.
The part 5 poster also works especially well thematically and emotionally with how part 5 ends.
Well, not only that, but in my opinion, Taichi was the best character in part 5. Like, I know it was supposed to be the Meiko and Hikari movie, but Taichi really stole the show for me.
You know who.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about, and it makes.
No, you have no idea what I'm gonna say. Taichi was not the one who stole the show. Agumon stole the show.
I don't agree with that.
Oh, come on. Agumon talking to Meiko was amazing.
There's a question about that. We'll get there.
Yeah, okay. We'll get to that later. But I just had to bring that up because I love that so much.
Okay, I do have to pop out for a second, but I'll be back.
I'll be talking about stuff you don't want to talk about anyways.
I'm sure.
Time for the karaoke shop. Tri is going back to King of System Karaoke for the 3rd time. And, they're doing all their fun promotional stuff, including drinks. This time, rather than bringing back the drinks from last time, they're doing character pairs. So we have the Courage and Friendship drink, which they mix up orange syrup, peach syrup, pineapple syrup, grapefruit jelly, which they mix into, they don't mention what type of soda, I would guess a type of Sprite, and they garnish it with an orange slice. Love and Purity, which is matcha aid mixed with milk. At the bottom, they throw in strawberry-flavored tapioca pearls, and then they top it with some milk and mint. Knowledge and Sincerity is coffee mixed with blueberry syrup, and they top it with a marshmallow drizzled in black sesame sauce, which is a fun little Gomamon reference there. And Hope and Light is peach syrup at the bottom of a glass of Calpis and garnished with a lemon slice. That one feels kind of lazy to me, to be honest. You get one of 9 of the... I like the art for these. They work well. The characters have personality to them. Although, oddly, once again, it feels like they're giving Mimi more personality in the art than the other characters. And,
Mimi just has way too much personality
but it's like
confine.
But it's sort of like every piece of art, like, we can see Taichi here, we can see Koshiro being thoughtful, we can see Joe working hard, and then Mimi's being Mimi.
Mimi will always be Mimi. But no, I agree. I do generally like
although based on a comment from Ian, I do have to disagree, Ian, that they're matching them to the O2 Chosens, like I Dare You to Come. These were paired like that in Adventure. Like the pairs that they come off as for O2, that was set up in Adventure in the first place.
Yeah, this is sort of the default pairings for everybody.
These pairings existed before O2 was a thing.
And I like it when they switch off of those default pairings, to be honest. It's kind of fun getting different combinations.
But generically, especially for promotional stuff, these are always the pairings that show up. This is what's expected. Yeah. This is in no way an O2 reference in any way.
Mm-hmm.
We did not make a title card for the food. I'm just going to go over it quickly. Agumon's favorite meat, it's just a meat plate with bread and a salad. But they give you all the coasters with it. Gabumon's Petite Fire Fried Rice, which is a plate of fried rice with 2 random coasters. Meikumon's Thank You Pancake. It's a Japanese style pancake with a bunch of toppings and items, which is sort of themed to look like Meikumon. And Let's Eat Together Tailmon Strawberry Parfait, which is an ice cream and fruit. there are so many like Hikari based stuff that are just parfaits, and like none of us really comment on just how much it works, because it's just, I think it's like something we just go, oh yeah, parfait, let's move on.
We could have used another Hikari having a sweet tooth joke somewhere along try. Like, it really only came up in the very beginning. Like, just one more would have been fun, just to kind of flesh her out as a character a little more.
It's shown up in one or two other places, just in the background. Like, she's like, when they go to the mock Pinkberry, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like she's clearly much more focused. Yeah, like she's much more focused on it than everyone else is.
See what she was eating at the daters thing in movie 2.
I don't even remember.
I have no idea. I don't even know if I saw it. But
then they're doing karaoke packages with art, and for products they have acrylic keychains, the can badges, and the die cut stickers. Are my understanding is those are supposed to be really good, and this is all the art for this event. And I kind of wondered if the first one didn't do well because they sort of made it smaller for the second. I think it was probably more they just decided to do it at the last second, so they rushed, because this feels like the biggest one they've done for this as far as overall style goes. I don't... Can they stop doing the weird coffee drinks, please? It's just very strange. Like, I don't know if that's a flavor combination that works. It just feels odd to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's it for King of Systems. And we're on to that they announced a few more Try Pop-Up Shop products. First off, we have the best t-shirt you could make with the art of the Digimon from the pop-up shop. That's just a fantastic t-shirt.
A good way to go with those.
Yeah. And because everyone likes it, we get to see creepy Biyomon front and center.
Yep.
They also did the Omegamon necklace. The design doesn't really work for me, like, for the chest symbol. It feels a bit haphazardly drawn to me. I mean, it's probably supposed to be stylized. It just doesn't really work for me design-wise. Then they brought back the pop-up shop art from the second shop, because it's Halloween themed, to do 2 Halloween themed mini towels. And they also did clear files based on the new pop-up shop art, which, I like these. They work. I
don't need more clear files.
Yeah, I don't have use for them, and it feels like that's one of those things that everyone gets because they're affordable and easier to get a hold of than some of the weirder stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're nice, and good luck not buying them, AR. Then next up, we got details for Archidamon and Hacker's Memory, which shockingly every detail we have for him is roughly Archidamon as we know him.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, yeah, it's exciting, but it's kind of shocking.
Idea.
And we got 2 3DS themes for those with Japanese eShop stuff. The themes work well. I haven't been able to get any confirmation if it's anything more than the most minimal skinning possible, though, which suggests to me that it's minimal, but it's basically $1.50, I believe, when you convert the prices.
Yeah, I think I saw that May got one actually.
I believe she got the pink one also.
Yeah. So I guess if you want more details, you can ask May about it.
I do feel like we have to say, what do we think the chances are that they're not going to do the other 4?
The other 4 what, movies?
Yeah. Because they've done part 1.
I don't see them doing part 4. I doing
no.
1 through 4.
I mean the 4 other ones. 2, 3, 4, and 6.
I think they could do 6. I see them doing 6.
See, I think we're gonna get the rest of them. Because because when they did the part 1 one, they didn't say it's a Tri theme. They said it's a Tri part 1 theme. Why wouldn't it just be a generic one and they do one for the new one? You know what I mean?
Maybe they'll bust them all out when they if they re-release Tri in some capacity.
I wouldn't be shocked if we got them in the lead up to 6. Now that I think about it, because because these don't look like the most detailed, crazy themes. It's basically they crop out part of the poster at the top, they do the color theming, done. And on to, this seemed like one of the products that people want the most despite the price. The life-size Tailmon. I mean,
we don't need it. We don't have enough Tailmon plushes in our life, apparently.
No, but this one, like, I mean, the size is obviously kind of crazy. It's basically 20 inches tall. The design feels better than many of them have been, though. Like, the design, like, the gloves are extra plush, which they've been kind of flat in some of them. Like, they look like something over her arms. There's detail on the ring. They did her little ear flap things. The face is done. Her faces look kind of goofy on a few of the plushes, like they weren't sure how to draw the smile.
Yeah.
This one looks good. Pre-orders are open now for 8,100 yen, which is about $75, but after shipping and intermediaries, I wouldn't be shocked if people were paying $130 to $150. It ships in February, and I didn't see them actually announce a limited number of these like they did for Meicoomon, which sold out in a snap. I wouldn't be shocked if they just decided they're going to sell whatever they can of these.
Cool.
Joking aside, I think May's getting this. I kind of want it too, to be honest.
I mean, I've already got 2 Tailmons. Yeah. I would like to spread it around a little more if I'm going to get any more big ones.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see this sitting next to the Agumon and Gabumon PC buddies. Because those, as I recall, those were reasonably large, and the pose here isn't that different. So I think it would work well. See, this is where I didn't even think about before saying it. May has both of those also. But yeah, I rather like this one. I hope we will get some of the other characters in the style. I understand why they started with Meicoomon and then moved to Tailmon.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But even sitting here trying to think of who they would do next, it feels like it's harder to think of like an Agumon plush like this for some reason. And maybe it's just because
Agumon's not furry.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm sitting there going, Gabumon? That doesn't feel quite right. It's like I know who I would want, but it's not going to happen. It's Tentomon.
I would want a Gomamon like that.
See, Gomamon would work well. I'm trying to decide if Palmon would.
Palmon might just be tough to make.
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to... It makes sense who they've gone with so far. But, yeah, that's in... It's one of those things where if
I mean, if we're really gonna go crazy here, I'm gonna say Hawkmon, but that's not gonna happen.
No, they're sticking with Tri for the time being. It's very... Oh, wait, it's the mysterious man. The plush. Just him sitting there looking angry.
This is life-size. Do you realize how big that would be?
Okay, it'd be mini-size for him.
What's next on the list? We got a lot of questions, and I really want to try to get to them. Okay,
we're getting near the end of the news.
We're getting there, yep.
So the last item in the Premium Art Series is a Duralumin, which is an aluminum composite, iPhone 7 and 8 cases. Pre-orders are open now. It includes a Mugen Dramon mini Shikishi board, and it's about $140. None of us are getting them. By the
time you're going to order one, you're going to get that by the time you're ready to replace your iPhone.
Yeah. I mean, I think these are the nicest looking of the premium art items, though.
Sure.
Like, as far as looking like a premium product, it works.
It looks like a really serviceable case as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is it looks like both a case that will work, is minimal without taking too much space. But hell no on spending that kind of price on a case. Just no.
I'm perfectly content with my $20 case.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think my case was like $5 or $10, so I'm okay with that. We move on, and the second Tokubon happened right after Tri Part 5. Most of it was in no way relevant. Most of it was catch-up stuff because of the positioning of Tri-Part 5 compared to Digifest. They sort of had to rejigger around where the Tokubans would go. So this one kind of happened after everything was announced. So they found other stuff to show with it.
And this one, it's always so close to the movie itself that it sort of gets overshadowed by...
It's never been this close, though. This was like the day before.
The day before, yeah.
Normally it's a week before, but the problem is what they do is they'll have one a month before and then a week before. But the one a month before will cover a bunch of stuff, and then the one a week before covers more. Here they had the issue of they'd gone over so much a month before that with Digifest that they sort of blew through most of the Tri-related stuff.
Yeah.
But they had Mao, who's Hikari, they had Miho Arakawa, who's Meiko, and they had Junya Inoki, who's Takaru there. They had the giant plushie sitting there, which worked well visually. But there were a handful of details given there that were quite interesting. And first up was, we got to see the box for Digivolving Spirits Metal Gurumon, which looks great. And at around the same time, the new issue of Figure King magazine came out with just a bunch of design documents for Digivolving Spirits. Just like production materials, and it's amazing to look through this stuff and see like how long some of them they've been working on. Like War Greymon was basically done last October. I don't think we weren't even clued in that these existed with teasers until maybe May-ish. But I mean, I really recommend you guys go and look at this stuff because the design work is just fantastic, and we even get to see the sizing prototype for Alphamon, where the design is basically just meant to make sure stuff can transform, but they still draw on the eyes for Dorumon and everything, and it just looks hilarious. But it's great design work overall, and the first of those comes out relatively soon, and Metal Gurumon will start showing up around January. And we move on to more figures. They showed the Gem sibling figures in color. We don't have dates for them or anything, but again, design's great, color's great. We'll be talking more about these later. I don't think there's anything much to say about them now, minus that they look good.
These are the Gem figures?
Yeah, the
slight head in advance.
The siblings pairs. We saw them.
Yeah, Taichi and Hikari having a perfectly healthy sibling relationship that will not at all be corrupted in any way at any point.
I still think the pose for Yamato and Takaru doesn't really work, though. I know what they were. I think they. I know what they were going for, but when you actually
underestimate how heavy Takeru is.
Yes, I do like Tokomon just being there, being squished, sort of.
You ever pick up, try to hold a small child for an extended period of time? It's difficult.
Yeah, I helped raise a cousin or two. It is not like picking up a plush toy.
No.
And moving on to probably the most exciting thing from the Tokuban, and since the Tokuban, they showed us a preview of the art at the Tokuban, and just earlier today they showed us the rest of the preview, and can't we just say this is fucking amazing?
Yeah, this looks really good. I'm trying to, mentally trying to remember the Adventure in 02 ones, and this is a totally different style.
It actually isn't. It's basically the same type of cover. They've just moved the angle.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's a different angle, and
yeah, but it's basically doing the same style, but moving the camera in such a way we're going. This isn't. This is not Adventure Season 3. We're changing up the theme a little.
Yeah,
and
I like that they got the Metropolitan Government Building in the middle of that.
Well, that's going to be on the spine with Kulumon and
be on
Itmon.
the spine.
That's gonna
look great once it's got the print.
I know. I really cannot wait to see this in color because it just looks perfect.
I have heard comments complaining about Rio being front and center. I sympathize with those for sure. I would have liked to see Judy in a more prominent position.
The thing is when you look at the group of the secondary Tamers, that is the one who was generically in marketing and everything done as the
I understand that, but that doesn't make it right.
But it does make it what it was always going to be, is the thing.
Probably, but still.
I
want more love for Judy.
It works well. The pose skews a little too much to the figure for me, for Juri and Leo.
Yeah, I realize that too.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I am glad they got the other 5 in there.
Oh no, I love that they're
not I'm not a huge fan of Kenta, but he should be on the cover.
The thing I like is ignoring that they're on the back cover, they're there just as much on the cover. Mm-hmm. There isn't any, obviously it's on the back cover, but it's not like they're just small in the background. They are there, and I like that. And I like the personalities in the facial expressions of everyone.
Xiao-chan's adorable, flying in there on Appmon.
Well, the one I liked was everyone was arguing about Ruki's arms. And Jeff actually asked a Shonen Jump editor, who said they would put it as at 50% Naruto, 50% Mario. But yeah, everyone just has so much personality. That does match what happened with the Adventure in 02 covers. There's just so much personality here that you can't help but smile looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy with the cover. I'm very curious to see what they do with the cityscape overall.
Yeah.
They're
going to have to come up with some sort of contrast to make sure that the kids stand out.
Well, yeah, I'm curious to see, is that just going to be blocked off what's below them? It would be I'm curious to see, because it does not feel drawn in like, say, the building does in the background.
Yeah.
It almost feels like they grabbed a map diagram and then corrupted it to use as a background part.
There also might be, that grid might be glowy or stuff.
That's what I was wondering, if it'd be like a glowing glass type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
We'll keep that in mind as we...
I'm very curious to see how they do the logo on the spine. It feels like they need to put it below Kulumon vertically.
Mm-hmm.
But, it'll be interesting to see. I'm also really looking forward to seeing how they use the art on the discs and menus, because the art's just really good. I want to see more of this art. It just...
Right.
I want to see stuff that, Juri and Shui-chan are smaller in the background just based on their placement. I hope they get, big usage on discs.
Yeah. How many discs do they usually have in
I expect 8.
There you go.
So we're gonna get,
because that's how they did it in the U.S. Tamers DVDs. They had 8 discs, so each kid got on a disc.
Yeah. Although I hope that, see, that's where we're gonna have an issue with 8, because there's the Appmon. I would not be shocked if they did what they did with Ken, which is Appmon's on a disc, and then they have a silhouette of Beelzebumon behind him.
Yep, that could work. And you can also, kind of share a couple. If you put Kurumon with this on the same disc as, say, Shu-chan or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could easily double up like Kazu and Kenta. It feels like they should be on a disc together.
Yeah. They combine to be one character, basically.
they're almost one character.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, it just looks like an amazing cover. Guilmon's head feels like it's proportioned. Stuff that doesn't always work well in art of the characters. feels like there was extra effort here.
Yeah.
And of course, the art was done by the character designer for Adventure 02, Tamers and Frontier.
Yep.
Then of course they previewed the first episode of they call it the HD remaster on Tokyo MX on, it's October 1st for us, but I believe is it already the second, or is it the end of the first in Japan?
I believe it would be the second now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it already aired regardless, but it's now the second in Japan. I assume someone's going to show us snapshots. I don't really trust them as judges for the Blu-rays because of certain technical differences.
If there's going to be a transfer loss in there.
Well, none of that. It's going to be the Blu-rays will be encoded for TV, which is good. Yeah. Like I believe Tokyo MX is MPEG 2, and they use anamorphic video, so you're crunching it, you're compressing it. Then before the screenshots are taken, someone's going to compress it and code it yet again. It's going to be generations and generations removed from the Blu-rays in the first place.
Yeah. But it's 6:30 in Japan right now.
Okay, so it's the next day. It aired long ago. I mean, like 12 hours ago or so. And then we have the details for the audio drama. We don't have cast, but they did announce the production crew. Seki Hiromi's back as producer, which, I mean, she was the producer for most of Digimon. I don't think she has anything to do with Tri or Appmon.
Mm-hmm.
But
that sounds right.
Up through Cross Wars, though, like, she was the driving force for the animation. Konaka's back to do the script.
Mm-hmm.
The director's Yukio Kazawa, who was the main director for Tamers. And the sound director is Hiroyuki Kakudo, who was the director for Adventure 02 X Evolution. Mm-hmm. He did episodic directing for most of the franchise. I want to say before he was a director, he was an audio engineer also, which makes sense.
It's fun having him on board either way.
Yeah. Well, like
it's just nice to see his name turn up on projects.
Yeah. People tend to think like he vanished after 02 minus X Evolution. He was still there. I believe he was directing Cross Wars episodes also.
Yeah, he did a couple random episodes of Cross Wars.
Yeah, like he did more than 10% of Tamers. He was still there. He just was not directing the show.
Yeah.
We don't have cast details yet, and it will be very interesting to see how honest the cast list is. Because even if we get a cast list, I'm not sure I'm going to trust the names literally, because maybe they do a cast list that doesn't list the Digimon, and maybe they show up without telling us. That would not shock me with the way Konaka works.
I suppose.
But we'll get a cast list at some point, and much like the Adventure one, I would not be shocked if there were a handful of characters simply missing because of availability.
Yeah.
But there will be much more to say about the Tamers Blu-ray box later. I'm sure we will gush over the art again when we have color images. But for now, it's hard to stop gushing over art that's so good, even when I'm not the hugest Tamers fan. It's just amazing art, full stop. And we are back to Tri Part 5.
Okay.
And I believe what we're going to do is, we'll talk about it in AR. We'll also be going through... It's going to be basically a Tri Part 5 question session with me and AR likely taking little asides.
Yeah. Like, I want to try to get through all of these because they're pretty good questions here.
Okay, so...
first... No, I've got a whole list here. So we've got a bunch of questions that we're already posted on the chat, so I'll just ask these.
Sure.
So Neko asked, what were the flaws we saw in Symbiosis? Like a lot of the ones that we keep hearing about are, Hikari didn't get enough attention, which we kind of already talked about, or Mako getting too much attention, that sort of thing. But what are some of the other flaws we saw in the movie?
I would say my primary flaw overall was it had a slightly disconnected feeling from Tri as a whole, in that we start with the end of part 4. And then it jumps to they're just running around, and they're kind of explaining what's going on as it's happening, where it's not, it sort of jumped ahead a little bit, and then it ends on a cliffhanger for Try Part 5, that is. So it feels slightly, each part sort of did it. It just feels weirder here for some reason for me. Maybe because part 4 itself ended on a cliffhanger, and then they solved the cliffhanger, and then they jumped ahead to maybe minutes later.
Yeah, well, the cliffhanger in part 4 really didn't become a factor at all because Mako just sort of woke up.
Well, but what I mean is they go to the cliffhanger, to a moment from part 4, they then show us the conclusion of the cliffhanger, and then it feels like they jumped ahead 5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
It felt kind of haphazard in that, why not show stuff start to get weird and then they run, rather than it happens and then they comment that it's happened before. You know what I mean?
Oh. Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from there. And that was actually kind of one of my things, is I would have liked to see a little more of the struggle, them escape, them getting out of the boat, evading all of those hostile Digimon. The idea that it suddenly shifted from day to night, I kind of wanted to see that instead of them just saying, "Oh, now it's night now." Well, I kind of wanted to see them react to that, because that's a really weird sensation when that happens.
Yeah, but it feels for me like stuff was going so weird they almost just took it as shit's going nuts, and oh look, something else.
I would have liked that to see them. I would have liked to see a little bit more of that.
I just felt it jarring, sort of in mood. Like, part 1 ends calm and part 2 begins calm. Part 2 ends with no one quite sure what's going on. The beginning of part 3 is they're trying to figure out what's going on. Part 3 ends with the character moment, and it begins with them trying to deal with that. Part 4 ends with a cliffhanger, and they very quickly resolve the cliffhanger, and then they're off running from something else, telling us what it is while they're running.
Yeah.
It was, and then ending it on a cliffhanger gives it the odd feeling of just a little haphazardness in how it was handled.
Well, I mean, I expected a cliffhanger when you're leading
no. But I mean, the way it jumped into a resolution of a cliffhanger and then immediately jumped forward, and then ending on a cliffhanger itself, it means both the beginning and the end do not necessarily crystallize solidly as the way some of the other ones have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with them beginning by resolving the cliffhanger.
Well, no. I have no issue with that. That was necessarily my problem. Was that once it was resolved, they didn't just continue on with a scene.
Oh no,
it was jumping ahead to something else has now happened, and we're just in the middle of it, which is kind of weird when they right before resolved the cliffhanger. Is my issue.
Yeah, but I mean, I totally expected part 5 needed to end on a cliffhanger.
Oh no,
that is how part 5
no doubt.
End, for sure.
It was more a case of me pointing out just the way that it kind of happened in both directions here.
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
Yeah.
My thing, regarding Mako, I think they did a really good job in general with Mako, especially considering so much of her problems requires the first 8 chosen to think about themselves and kind of project that on Mako, and that the chosen, their solutions to the problem were so typically optimistic, and that turned out to maybe not be the right answer, and Mako kind of had to come to that conclusion to herself.
Well, because
that part I really liked.
Yeah, I like that. Sorry, go ahead.
But what I think there were a couple things that they kind of pushed a little too far, like the whole "you shouldn't have been born" conversation that was sort of felt weird and disjointed, because the mysterious man has been kind of trolling and gaslighting them the whole movie, and it's weird that this one specific line, which is so completely incorrect and so completely easy to dismiss, is the one that causes Mako so much grief.
I think it causes her grief because, remember, she does know something is wrong with Mekumon. And apparently was wrong basically since the moment they met.
Yeah.
I think she decided to internalize that comment to her, but she knew something was wrong. And I think being told it in such a, not necessarily direct fashion, but in such a way, made her go, maybe the problem wasn't that. Maybe the problem was me.
Yeah, and that specifically is okay. It's just that the way they chose to present that with the mysterious man doing it, that I'm not sure I buy. Like, Mako coming to realize herself that she might be part of the problem, that I'm totally okay with. But I wish that had been done a little more organically.
For me at least, it was organic because I saw it as she knew something was wrong. She just sort of hadn't dealt with it. It was more, oh no, there's something wrong with Meikumon. And being told something in such a fashion made her go, I've kind of been ignoring the obvious that something's been very wrong for a long time. And
I think she had known that already. I think she was kind of realizing that herself, and didn't need this guy pushing it up.
I think it had to be clarified though, in the case of it had to be mentioned so that she had to visually and audibly and herself deal with it, and of course to make us aware that that it's something very specific.
Yeah,
it was necessary to give us the information.
Right, I guess. But another problem I had was that I would have liked to see a little more of the negative reaction to the Digimon suddenly showing up, like just to get that sense of worry among the townspeople, and to kind of justify that chasing after them scene, because in the first part when they all started showing up, they weren't really freaking out enough.
But see, the thing is to point out you had people acting a bit worried, and then the kids started running off, and they point out themselves that they might not be being chased after if they didn't start running like crazy people.
Which is complete. That's that made that scene kind of make sense, but I would have liked to see a more hostile populace, just to see something and go, oh crap, the Digimon are starting to move now. Maybe we should start panicking.
For plot reasons, they sort of remove that element by removing the kids from it, and then they just had other stuff to deal with, plot-wise.
I didn't want them removing that plot element, is what I'm saying.
No, I meant they removed the kids from the plot element because they had to deal with certain things with the kids plot-wise.
Right, I didn't want them removed from that plot element. I wanted that plot element to be front and center for me.
My thing is, and I've said it before, the character stuff's catnip for me. I just love it. So it moved to character stuff, so I'm quite happy.
Yeah, I'm totally happy with the character stuff too, but that's something that I've been looking forward to all this time, and it's like, oh, I have to wait another movie to get this.
If you get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And I think we kind of talked about needing that a little bit more out of Hikari early on. Like, I think that's a justifiable complaint that we just needed just a tiny bit more. What we did get was okay, especially her comments towards Mako were really important for her. And I don't think that can be understated, that Hikari was just as important in that campfire scene as Mako. Well, maybe not just as important, but she was active and involved. It was an important part of her character.
It's a case where I understand that people wanted more Hikari. I can also understand, and my perspective is she's sort of done stuff throughout it. Maybe not enough. But as a whole, I feel like it added to the depth of it enough that I was happy with it. But I understand people not being happy with it.
Yeah.
If they weren't.
So the idea that the complaints of Hikari didn't get enough and Mako got too much, maybe not to the extent that some comments have made about that, but I don't consider those criticisms unjustified.
Oh no, they're not. I'm just saying I can understand it in this case either way, because for example, it's not that different than Koshiro in Part 3, or even to some degree Joe in Part 2.
So the next question we had was, Daniel asks, at this point, do you think Part 6 will be more than 4 episodes long in length in order to have more time to wrap things up? And we've seen this in Part 3 already had 5 episodes, and I would totally not be surprised if Part 6 was the same thing, where they just make it a little longer.
I would not be
kind of cover everything.
Any joking aside, I would expect 4 at a minimum. I would not be shocked if it was 6.
I'm kind of hoping for 6 because I really want this to end at 27 episodes total.
Frankly, I wouldn't be all that shocked if in a month they went, and Part 7's gonna be the end.
that I think they can resolve this in 6 movies. I think
to be clear, they can, and I expect them to, especially with the very final-looking cover. I'm just saying it would not be shocking if they went, we are going to do one more. I don't know what one more means in this context. I'm just saying I wouldn't be shocked. Part
5 positions things to be resolved in one movie better than I think people might think.
Oh no,
I do want to see, and like I said, I would love to see the last one be 6 episodes just to get to a total of 27, because 27, of course, is 3 cubed.
Oh fuck.
Next question.
Well, but wait. But with what you were saying, Part 5 clearly ends like the climax is beginning. This is naturally leading into the end point, regardless of what. And I don't mean you as in you. I mean you as in the ethereal you. Regardless of what you think about Tri's pacing, whether it's good or bad, or whether you expect they could wrap it up in one, the ending of Part 5 is the setup for 6 to be it.
Yeah, definitely. And they've definitely progressed to the point where, you look at what happens at the end of Part 5, it's definitely, they've come a long way since the beginning of Part 1. So, the next question is from Swashbuckling Conjurer. What did you think of the new facial expressions for the Digimon?
Loved them.
Yeah, there was some good stuff in there.
I mean, it was very... Go ahead.
I like when they really emote and stretch those emotions a little bit. Like, this is anime.
I assume he's talking about the horror scene.
Yeah, I imagine.
I mean, the faces were all great. My favorite was still Agumon utterly not being involved at all.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I do, like I said, I do think that they kind of oversold the reaction to Mako's story, but that's sort of a different subject.
But that's how you tell scary stories in this type of thing.
I guess.
I mean, that's just how. I mean, you watch any anime where they sit around telling scary stories. There is no real scary story being told, even if people are freaking the shit out.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just how it's done in that case, because they're not going to sit there and talk about,
Maybe I have a problem with the trope in general.
That's a fair enough point.
The next question is from Joe Shocking Tunes. Aside from Mysterious Man mentioning Yggdrasil, do the other characters understand what Yggdrasil is? This is a really interesting question.
I think it's an odd case where it's not necessarily relevant that they do, in that it's sort of like them being against homeostasis at this point. It doesn't really matter what it's doing. It's doing something they consider wrong. They know that the Mysterious Man, and I say apparently because who knows what they can trust or believe that he's saying, the Mysterious Man apparently works for Yggdrasil. And the Mysterious Man is crazy as shit.
Right, and that's that's all the information they have on Yggdrasil, so it's really hard for them to take a whole ton of truths out of it.
So as far as they're aware, if that's true, because remember, it's not like they've seen or spoken to Yggdrasil. As far as they're aware and seen, anyone who's associated with Yggdrasil has tried to kill them.
Yeah.
Or is trying to destroy their world, or so forth. So Yggdrasil, regardless of if they understand the background, and I'm not sure we understand the background of this version of Yggdrasil.
That's another point I was going to make. Is this Yggdrasil could be completely different from the ones we've seen before, and it's not like the ones we've seen before have been 100% consistent.
Like the one in Next. The one in Next was good.
The one in Next, good. Yeah, right.
The one in Next was generically good, became corrupted, but had put plans into motion long before in case that ever happened.
Yeah. Like, every Yggdrasil is just a little bit different, and this one is really, really different from the ones we've seen. The
other thing is we don't even know if there really is a Yggdrasil even. It could just be a convenient excuse that homeostasis says this is the way to do it. Homeostasis is the god of the digital world. Well, here's another god of the digital world.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory in the sense that the only times we've heard from Yggdrasil are from Hackmon and from the guy who looks like an agent of homeostasis.
Well, to be fair, I'm not saying it's a theory. I'm just saying we haven't actually seen or directly heard from any such character.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. That would be kind of a fun twist. I think it's a little late to make. I think it's a bit.
Oh, I don't expect them to. I'm just saying we're in an odd case where we don't necessarily know what's up with this character, if the character even exists, or so forth. But in the context of the actions of the characters, I don't necessarily think it matters how much they know. They've seen via actions that this character is not on their side.
Their interpretation is that Yggdrasil is just quote-unquote the bad guy, and I don't think they are entirely wrong, and I don't think they entirely need more information than that.
Exactly. It's in the position where even if Yggdrasil has goals that make logical good sense, so does homeostasis, but it's still opposed to what they were trying to do.
So another question here from Neko is, some people have talked about the idea of having more posters alongside Part 6. Do you think that there could be, since Maki and Daigo have become bigger parts of the plot?
No. Could they do extra promotional posters? Yes. The context that people were talking about it originally was when there were tons of rumored posters show up and people were going, there's so many coming up with some degree of consistency, it almost seems like maybe they had 4 or 5 in different theaters. And what I'm saying is there is no alternate poster that they have as the primary key poster art for Part 6.
I agree with that for the poster art for the theatrical release. It wouldn't surprise me if the Blu-ray release, if the cover that we had for that ended up focusing on specific characters.
Oh no,
I wouldn't mind something like even if the pre-order print focused on Maki and Daigo, for example.
But
other stuff that's not the theatrical poster.
Yes,
exactly. I can see them going in different directions than a full cast. But as far as the theatrical poster,
that is what it is. Yeah.
Jackie asks, how will the O2 kids appear in movie 6?
They're dead.
My answer to that, I'm going to actually answer this.
Oh, I will answer it. I just knew that when I said that, you'd move on.
While I didn't see too many explicit hints as to where they were in movie 5, and I get that can be a little frustrating, what I find really kind of satisfying would be the word I could use. There's probably a better one. Is that there's really not a whole lot of options left for them to appear. This is basically, they're either in the Dark Ocean with Maki, or they are in the pit with Taichi and Daigo.
Or they're in a random Alphamon run prison.
I don't see them that, because then you have this subplot of a rescue mission, and I kind of feel that that's distracting at this point. I would rather they appear...
No, I mean they could just show up and say they were captured and they've just gotten out.
Oh, that's awful. But hey,
at least it would be.
I'm not saying that they would do that.
At least it would be an explanation, unlike what we got in Hurricane Touchdown.
My standards are higher than Hurricane Touchdown.
Yeah, my standards are much higher. I'm just saying it would still be an answer.
But no, I'll say that that's my prediction, is that they're going to either be in one of those 2 locations, that they will either show up in connection with the Dark Ocean and potentially involved with Maki, although if the Dark Ocean is really, possibly spreading everywhere, they may show up in that regard. Or they are where Taichi and Daigo ended up at the end of movie 5.
Yeah, who knows? I expect them to show up somewhere. I'm still trying to decide if I expect them to show up or if I expect them to show up in a moment of heroic craziness. I don't really know what I expect. I do expect something reasonably fulfilling.
I really hope for something reasonably fulfilling.
I think the thing is I think people who have been able to go along with it to some degree will find certain things fulfilling. I'm not sure people who have taken the not being there of the O2 kids more seriously may not find anything fulfilling that Tri's prepared to do when it has its own story to tell.
Sure. No, I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But yeah, I would like to see something fulfilling. Like, even if it's something as simple as heroic as fishing Maki out of the ocean. Like if Daisuke fished her out of the water, and she turned up on the beach there, and there those four are, and they're going, what the heck's going on?
They were fishing.
I would love that.
They were fishing in Colorado with their good friend Bob. Bob will be a brunette who does not have a Digimon, and they will not mention Wallace.
I've already said that Wallace and Mako were basically the same character, just Mako was developed.
Yeah.
Are we good on the 02 kids, or can we move on?
I think we can move on, because here's the thing. It's theorizing with not enough information to really theorize. It's throwing stuff to the wall and hoping something sticks.
And I feel like this is a conversation we will continue to have.
Oh no, we will, because
this is going to come up again. This is going to come up again on the podcast before we get to movie 4. It's a long way away.
Yeah. Well,
next question.
Wait, 4? What?
Or part 6. Yeah. Sorry.
It's important for part 6 in a way that it hasn't been, because anytime they didn't show up, and I will say this, it's very easy to go. It's not the time for it to happen. This is Try. This is not 02 part 2.
Well, guess what?
But now we're at the point where it's at the point where it is the end. It does need to be dealt with in a reasonable fashion.
And everyone like us who have been saying they'll get to it eventually, it's like, oh God, they better get to it eventually.
No, I expect them to, but it is literally it is literally the moment of Try to put up or shut up in that aspect. If they do nothing, it's not a deal breaker for me for Try overall, but it is a major mark on it.
It's a serious problem, which does it doesn't completely ruin it for me, but it
doesn't. It will be a major problem if it is not dealt with. I have a
lot of grumblings for sure.
Oh no, I will too if it's not dealt with.
Next question, I think we already sort of talked about that. Could part 6 be divided into 2 parts? Like our future beginning and our future continued.
Will part 6 be in 2 parts? No. Could they do a part 7? Yes, but whether that would just be a continuation of part 6, or this isn't part 7, this is a web OVA explaining something else, or something like that, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. But they're either going to do a part 6 and a part 7, or a really long part 6. They're not going to do a part 6 part 1 and a part 6 part 2.
Like, let's be clear. They could do, and this is just, like, I give a web OVA as an example. It could be part 6 ends, and the plot that we've seen up till now ends, but then there's a new bigger villain, which is Yggdrasil, let's say. And then 7 is just a crazy 2-hour, oh god, what the fuck's going on type thing. Like, just crazy finale stuff. I'm not saying that's what I expect. I'm saying if they were to do it, it would be that. It would not be part 6 just ends, and then you get a part 6 part 2.
Okay, next question is, do you think they dumbed down Agumon too much?
No.
Like, because,
Nope. I mean, to a degree, what Try has done is what you generally do see in media is the characters are more the characters. Whether that's a good thing or not kind of boils down to what you thought of the characters before, and I'm not really seeing anything with Agumon that isn't Agumon. It's not.
I think it's a little bit. I think they went a little far with the simple-minded and one-track mind towards food.
But that's kind of how he was. That was kind of his thing. He was sort of around Taichi. He would say something to cheer Taichi up, which they did in part 1. They've done.
Yeah.
And he would want to eat.
That was well done.
I mean, what we've seen of Agumon is the Agumon character that we knew. Agumon might occasionally say something wise. Otherwise, he wants to eat.
Yeah, and I think that it's just a little simple for him to just constantly be making food comments, even if it's not necessarily out of character. I think the fact that that's all he does is a little weak considering how they've written some of the other Digimon in the cast. Like, a lot of the other Digimon have suddenly grounded into three-dimensional characters, and I don't think I'm getting that out of Agumon.
I don't necessarily agree with them being more rounded. They feel more like themselves. Like, Tentomon was always the one who seemed to notice stuff and comment on it, especially in regards to Koshiro.
Yeah. It's not like they've changed their characters. They've just sort of fleshed them out a little bit better.
But
and it's only specific with certain ones. Like, it's primarily primarily talking about Gomamon and Tailmon
but
in that example.
But like Agumon is the character he was before. Now you can argue that maybe he hasn't evolved to a degree like the others have in some fashion in Tri, which is slightly
Yoshi in the comments just pointed out that, Agumon and Tri, comparing that to the one who talked to Blackboard Greymon in 02, and I actually put that in my notes.
But like I said, in part 1, we did get that moment with Agumon.
Well, here's the thing, is that worked in part 1. I don't think it worked as well in part 5. I get what they were going for. I think they were trying to evoke that.
Well, here's the other thing. Go ahead.
If I may, they were trying to evoke that with Blackboard Greymon, trying to evoke that a little bit in Blackboard Greymon with his conversation with Mako, and I think it's a really, they're trying to get to that really simple-minded wisdom that Agumon can have. It worked really well in part 1. It was kind of interesting in 02, the way he did that. It just didn't really have the same effect. Like, he was just a little too simple-minded. The conversation he had with Mako was not a situation where simple-mindedness really worked.
Here's the other thing, and this is kind of a cheat. For all the claims that Agumon in Tri is the same Agumon in 02, at this point, you can argue that that's not true. Agumon, the Agumon that we have,
he was starting to do that before the reboot too, though.
But yeah, he absolutely was. But it's hard to argue it in the context of Tri-Part 5 when, to a degree, it is not completely the same character. In the fashion of, this is the same person who had that speech that we all watched 15 years ago. It's not.
Right, but
like Tentomon himself commented, he doesn't know why does he seem to like Koshiro so much, or whatever his statement was in Tri-Part 4.
Yeah. But I guess they were starting with the Agumon's food obsession thing in part 3, and I found it funny then, but as it's gone on, and that seems to be the only beat that they have for him, it's starting to get a little old for me, and I kind of wish they had fleshed him out a little more. I saw it more. I think of everybody, Agumon deserves to be fleshed out a little bit more than the others, even post reboot. Because he is the main character.
I saw it more as that he hadn't had the treats in a while, so he was going kind of overboard in dealing with it now that he was back. And we still got the occasional moment of Agumon thinking a bit more calmly. Not generally very often, but it did show up.
I'll say this. This is Agumon in part 6 with Taichi gone is going to be really interesting, and I expect to see more out of it.
I don't disagree. Although I kind of wonder if it would be Agumon in the first place.
Well, Agumon or Koromon, potentially. Last question we had here is better new original ending song, Boku ni Tote or Aikotoba? This is a hard one for me. I'm probably leaning towards Aikotoba, but it's so pretty close.
Boku
ni Tote is a good song.
It has good energy. I'm not sure it's heavily interesting as an ending theme.
That's sort of where I'm thinking with that. Like, it works as, like, Yamato's Image song, for example, but as far as an ending song, I think Aikotoba just feels like a more natural Digimon ending theme, especially when you compare it to the ones that were in parts 1, 2, and 4.
Yes. And since someone brought it up that before the reboot, and you brought this up too, regarding what we were talking about before, where Agumon was sort of the same before the reboot, one of the last things we saw with Agumon was him giving, like, a kind of speech to Taichi, something a bit deeper about what was gonna happen.
I
mean, like I was saying, we did get that stuff with Agumon. It's just Agumon as a character framed in Tri was the role of a bit more of the comic relief, but he did get those moments when he was being deeper, when it mattered.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten a couple. I just feel like when he's used for comic relief, it's the same joke every time, and it's starting to get a bit old for me.
See, for me, it's funny because they're using him well to break stuff up in ways that maybe there isn't someone else to easily break stuff up. Like you can't always have you can't always have, say, Mimi jumping in doing something, or like you couldn't do that on and on with Joe complaining about school.
Yeah. But even with Agumon, flying in asleep on the log, like that's a different joke.
No, that was great. I still think one of the one that it worked best on part 5 though was when they talked about sharing and then Agumon just popped up.
Yeah, that didn't work for me so much.
Oh, see
like,
that
it just it seemed like a bit of a jump for me.
See, that was the moment that it worked best
because there wasn't an actual food reference. I agree that there needed something in there to break that scene up. No, that was
just the idea that Agumon thought the context of it and it allowed them to break it up. I'm not sure who else you could have done that with, is what I mean.
It was, it's just a little bit of a logical leap there, and I'm not sure it's a logical leap Agumon would have made. I agree that scene needed to be broken up at that point. I don't like how they did that.
See, I guess in my view, I'm just okay with it because I'm not sure how else it would have been done. It's not like you could have them attacked or screw up the scenery again because you need them to stay there to have the discussion.
Oh no, I agree with that. It's just that No.
I get what you mean.
Let another Digimon mess up that scene somehow. Have a weird mumbling or something.
But
they're talented writers. They can come up. But
what I mean is you can't have like the sleeping mumbling because you need someone to explicitly interrupt it. Is the problem?
Oh yeah.
Like you can't just have Gabumon asleep and then Yamato, love you. You need someone to just jump into the middle of it, and I'm not sure who else that would have been is my issue. Do you want to move on to the next question?
That was all I had, unless there's something... Unless I haven't caught any more since then, but...
Okay, so
if we're missing something, drop it in here.
Yeah, well... I mean, there's going to be much more to discuss with Part 5 overall. Just because more happened in this one than in most of them.
And like I said, I haven't even worked on my blog posts yet, so I'm gonna certainly watch episode 1 tonight and start really attacking that. So it's gonna be interesting that I'm just gonna be focusing on a blog post specifically dedicated to episode 1 of part 5. So I'm gonna I'm gonna come up with a whole bunch of other people have started doing it too. It's great. I've seen a lot of really, really good, in-depth, scene-by-scene analysis of Try, especially in this new one.
Well, it helps with scenes that are so clearly delineated on what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they even kind of point that out in Part 4, where Joe doesn't want them to just kind of wander around. So it doesn't look like questions are popping up. So while we're waiting, why don't we move back to the poster to see if there's anything else we wanted to say there.
I think I kind of covered everything earlier.
I actually think I did also.
Don't really think I had a whole lot more to say.
I mean, I will be very curious to... Go ahead.
Yoshi asked, why did Tailmon revert to staying as adult when she evolved after the reboot? And I have that question too. I really want to know what's going on there.
From what we've seen, the physical aspects seem to be the same. Meaning they can still evolve, whether that's because of the kids or not specifically. To a degree, it's treated.
It's an acceptable answer, but I still consider that speculation, and I wish.
But here's the thing.
I wish characters would have more questions about that. Like I wish Hikari would be wondering why that is happening.
See, the problem with saying it's speculation though is it's always speculation unless we know every detail.
Yeah, no, well, I'm saying that's something I wish had been addressed in the movie.
See, I don't think there was any need for it to be.
I don't think there was any need to. I still kind of would have appreciated it.
I sort of saw this
coming, and it's sort of.
I just didn't see it as necessary because that is one of the character's things. It's just not worth the time spending on it for something that was kind of expected anyways. At least in my view.
I expected it to be frustrating is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like they just got a little lazy there, and even though we all kind of expected them to be a little lazy there, I don't consider that an excuse.
See, I don't necessarily consider it lazy when that's the expected thing to happen. It's just not worth the time to deal with. I mean, it's just not worth the time in my view, because then you start having going, well, we can say the evolutions have to do with the kids, but then to a degree it also had to do with the physical condition of the Digimon, and so forth. At some point, there's just time better spent on stuff.
Yeah, but that's something that's just the rule of the universe, is evolution is tied to the child. I mean, you need the Digimon to be on board and healthy and well-fed in order to make anything happen, but once you can make anything happen, the sky's the limit if the kids...
But that's what I mean. You could argue... There's so many ways to just explain it away. I just don't see it as necessary for the show to spend 30 seconds giving us an answer when realistically the kids don't have a clue.
I don't think the kids have a clue.
But that's what I mean, though, is minus the mysterious man or Appmon or someone stopping the kids to explain it to them, I'm not sure how an explanation would have been given in a fulfilling way.
I can understand. I can't. I agree with that. I can't.
My issue is
how it would happen. I just would have something.
But that's what I mean, though.
Or rather, what I would have rather seen is have her actually go back down to Appmon.
I had no expectation or want for that to happen.
Neither did I.
The instant she was Tailmon,
a sounder logical move.
The instant, but I disagree on the logic point. I mean, it's more based on the opinion of what you wanted to happen. Realistically, it was never going to be Appmon. It's sort of like, I mean, arguing aside about Tailmon's last form.
No, I mean...
It's Tailmon. It's Tailmon in the marketing. It's Tailmon in the merchandise. It's always been Tailmon. It's always going to be Tailmon. It was never going to be Appmon.
Yeah, I agree with that. It still is a bit of a gap in logic that I think should be at least acknowledged.
But the thing is acknowledging it doesn't accomplish anything in this case is my issue. Just having the characters go, oh, that's strange, it doesn't do anything overall, is where my issue lies. Is if they're going to have it acknowledged in some fashion, it doesn't give us any useful information, is what I mean.
I mean, I'm not really ready to say it's like we should concede it's a plot hole because it's such a minor plot hole.
I wasn't saying so. I'm not saying that you were saying it's a plot hole. What I mean is it's something that we don't know and we can speculate on it easily, but it's the weird case of all we have is speculation because it's something that was just never going to be answered because there was no real way to answer it in a fulfilling way. There's 100 explanations that make sense, and we all have our own, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's just that I don't think that we should be okay with just accepting a plot hole, and I think it kind of is one. Without further elaboration.
I don't think it is because... Okay, but here's the thing. Then, let's say it is a plot hole. Ignoring that we have our own reasons for saying, well, they can still become their final forms, why isn't that a plot hole then, even if we agree it's based on the kids? It's still a plot hole because to some degree that relationship doesn't exist anymore, and that relationship does matter in the case of evolving.
I'm not sure I follow that, but my original point is I don't think we should just concede a plot hole because we expected the plot hole to happen.
No, I'm not saying it's a plot hole. I'm saying it's something that there are so many acceptable explanations for it. There is no fulfilling way to give you that answer that even makes sense for it to be given, is what I'm saying. Do you get what I mean though? is what I'm saying is how would it have been delivered in such a way to be fulfilling while also giving an answer that people would find acceptable without it just being an odd, very small information dump, is what I mean.
I just would have rather had something than nothing.
But I'm just not sure the context of it being given to make it matter is my problem.
I think the writers could have tried to. I think the writers could have at least tried on that one.
I just don't think it was necessary for them to deal with. To some point,
I don't know if it was necessary, but it would have been appreciated, and the effort would have. I would have liked to see some effort there.
I just think there was better stuff to deal with. I mean, I mean, that's just the character to some degree, at least for me. I mean, to be fair, tough life or not. Tough life or not. Did Adventure actually clarify that's why that happened, and that just wasn't natural for that character?
I believe they did. I believe they did say that. Yeah, that's why she is at an adult form permanently.
Fair enough, but it just doesn't seem to be relevant. It just bothers me because another thing is I wouldn't have minded. I know they were never going to do that, but I wouldn't have minded seeing Plotmon just from a story element, removing the marketing from it to see Plotmon permanently, just as a reminder that the reboot still did happen. That it's not completely going to go back the way it was. Like that would have been a nice sort of a visual. Even non-marketing wise, I didn't see that ever as a possibility, even ignoring the marketing, simply because that's just not what Plotmon as a character in that usage was designed as. Tailmon's Tailmon because they were basically bypassing that the evolutions needed to happen there to a degree.
Right. I still don't buy that as an explanation. Like, you can have, like, there'd be no problem having Plotmon walking around. Like, I'm just talking specifically in the narrative.
I just don't. It's just something we're just not going to agree on realistically.
Probably, but I do get people's frustrations with that.
Yeah. I just think it's weird. I just think it's weird in the sense of, I mean, if you have no problems with try, I completely understand that being the thing. But when it just becomes a list when it just becomes part of a list, it seems a bit odd to me. When does that make sense at least? Like, if you think try has I
get what you're saying.
If you think try has real, if you think try has
really disliked Try as a movie and just come up with a bunch of reasons why having that as a reason seems like piling on.
Because realistically, anything we watch, if you really want to, you can pile onto it rather easily, to be honest.
Right.
I just didn't see. Like I said, it's just something we just disagree on.
This might also be important to point out that in the fic, when I killed off Tailmon, when she was reborn as an egg, she stayed as Plotmon permanently, just as sort of a reminder. So I've sort of been there before and played with this concept.
Yeah.
So that may be why I feel have this sort of opinion in this perspective.
Just for me at least, the character's Tailmon, period. There is Plotmon is just a lower form. And I get what
you're saying about the marketing. Like, it was never going to be that.
But even without the marketing, I don't see it, because the characters, in the way they are shown, drawn, used, that's just not Plotmon's usage as the one that's walking around, is what I mean. That's just not the character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they've already tried doing a couple character alterations. Like, there was a scene when she was still Nyaromon, when she was shown to be a little more playful and happy than Tailmon had been in her pre-reboot state. So,
well, no, I'm talking about the visual of being.
It is what it is.
I'm talking about the visual.
Oh no, I know what you mean there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would look very strange.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
I wanted it to look.
I wanted it to look. I think Plotmon's one moment was that Appmon was there for an extended period in Part 4. I think that was the only moment for that character, realistically.
Perhaps.
At least as an extended character that exists, is what I mean.
Yeah.
Did any more questions pop up?
I don't think so.
No, we can't move on from it, Nico. It's going to be part of our next 10 episodes. Arguing about Appmon.
No, the note was we're going to argue about plot. Just the plot. Not Appmon specifically. We're hopefully done.
No, she literally
said... We're going to argue about the
plot. No. In the room, someone literally said, can we move on from this?
Yeah, and I'm saying, yes, we can.
And I was joking that we weren't going to.
I was making a plot pun.
I prefer mine. Mostly because I didn't even realize you were making a pun at all.
Another comment is, I think it's interesting how Hikari positioned differently. Everyone else... Oh, he's talking about the poster heading out reaching to Mako and Hikari's reaching out to Taichi. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I'm sure there's a bunch of...
See, the thing is...
I'm sure there's a bunch of little character notes here.
I'm not...
I'm
not sure that is a character note for one reason. That's also positioning, needing to place them in ways that central to the poster. She's still reaching down. It just happens that she's above...
And it could be. This is, like I said, this is something I want a high-def official poster before I really break that sort of thing down.
Well, that's why I was saying, like, we can speculate on the hat that we see, but we've been burned on this before.
Yeah.
And we will speculate on it, but I want to see what we can suss out from a proper image without going an hour about, because we could easily go an hour about theorizing Wizardmon's place. When we get a better image, it could be someone else wearing his hat, for all we know.
I do not want to go an hour theorizing on...
Well, but you know what I mean, though. We could.
I do. Yeah.
I at least want to know...
If we're going to do it, let's get the high-def version to make sure that it's...
Let's make sure it's actually him, and not Pico Devimon wearing his hat, for all we know.
The question is, do we think we'll finally get Warp Evolve sequences in 6? We've gotten them a couple times. We got them in 4, actually.
We had a drawn-out version in 1 where they're actually attacking as they're warping up. I took that as a representation of the warp sequence, just not the CGI flipping back and forth. I saw it as level up, attack, and then final forms.
I don't care if we ever see the flipping official...
I admit I kind of would like to see really nice, high-resolution CGI versions of them. You just want
to see how Tri does them?
Yes, I would like to see that, but I also understand there's...
The one in Appmon was certainly awesome.
See, I still kind of like when Hunters did the evolutions in standard animation.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's one of the coolest parts of that process.
I love that.
To see how all those evolution sequences play out in real time without all those swirling backgrounds.
Also, I forgot to mention, can we just say how nice it is that since they didn't need a bit of time stretch, they had the evolutions happening all at once in Part 5? That worked great for me.
Especially since it wasn't like an organized ice cube tray. It was actually kind of a jagged angles and all that stuff.
I love that.
Yeah, that was great. Saved a lot of time as well.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, and that's where it's come up in Part 4 discussion, that people are like, they're wasting time. No, they're not, because it was not going to be replaced with anything if they did it another way.
Yeah. It still felt like it went too long.
No, it did, but I'm saying, had they clipped it together in some fashion, there was nothing else. This was not replacing something else. It was just going to be shorter, is what I'm saying.
We should start wrapping up because my wife and kids got home.
Yep.
Can't let them know what I do in my spare time.
Wait, then you should probably get rid of the giant cork board you have with stuff on it. And I believe you were thinking about getting another one, weren't you?
No, full disclosure, she knows what I do in my spare time.
Well, I believe you've posted cosplay photos of them with you.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'm kind of tempted to maybe have a segment to like interview her about her reactions to Part 5 when I do it. I usually live tweet her comments as she's watching it. It might be fun to do an interview. I'll kick the idea with her, but anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, there will definitely be Tri-Part 5 to go over. I think we're about done here for now. Some really good questions. And it is very, very fun to debate back and forth with you, AR.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very fun, especially since we both will disagree on wild things, but we don't actually like fight about them. We're just like bouncing back and forth. It's very enjoyable.
I mean, I'm not gonna lose my temper over an argument over whether Plotmon or Tailmon should be out there. Like, that's just not something I'm really gonna get too feisty over.
The answer is Tailmon. But yeah, the thing is it especially when you're dealing with forums or chat rooms, it can sometimes come across more argumentative. Remember, sure. It's fun. It's a cartoon. We can talk about it. We can talk about it very seriously. We can enjoy it. But at the end of the day, it's supposed to be fun. If it's not, I wouldn't be here. I don't think you'd be here. I don't think anyone else would be here. If, like, if you're not getting some joy out of it, there has to be something better for you to do. You know what I mean?
Stay tuned for my detailed article breaking down every little bit of Tri-Part 5 Episode 1 tomorrow on Digimon System Restore. Treated with the utmost seriousness.
So...
It won't be treated with the utmost seriousness. I will come up with jokes.
But yeah, so like and subscribe us on YouTube. If you can, join our Patreon. AR's First Agent ARP.
First Agent ARP on Twitter. First Agent on Tumblr. My site is digimon.firstagent.net, which does have a
I need to remember these are on the title card so I can read them rather than guess them. And of course, even though she's not here, make sure follow May. There's her podcast.
The personal is Ancient Irismon.
Is Translationmon. No, just Translationmon.
At Translation. I'm saying the podcast
title as well. But yeah, so follow.
I also have on my website. I also do have a coffee now. So if you did want to throw me a couple bucks and help me pay for raising my child, it would be
throw money at him. Join our Patreon. Join May's Patreon. We need money to do all our crazy shit.
I really wish Patreon had been around when I started System Restore.
I wish it had been around when I started with the Will. Well, I didn't start it, but I kind of helped restart it, and then things spun horribly out of control. I was just showing up to put the site back together. I was supposed to leave. That was the goal.
I thought I'd be done with System Restore by now, but Digimon decided to keep going.
Yeah, any time you're gonna get within an inch of being done, they're gonna start up new stuff.
I still haven't officially done Appmon for System Restore. Those are still just unofficial Tumblr articles that I'm going to eventually be fleshed out into full System Restore posts when the time comes.
My assumption was you were waiting until it was done to properly do it, because then you have the full thing in context.
Sort of. I was waiting for it to be licensed. I kind of cheated on the done bit with Cross Wars, so I was, and obviously I'm doing Try as it is.
So you didn't cheat with Cross Wars because it was licensed. It just wasn't dubbed.
No, by the time I got to Cross Wars, it was being dubbed.
Oh, okay.
So I was going straight off of the dub as it was airing, basically.
Okay, so that was definitely a very interesting episode, and I guarantee we're not quite done with Tri-Part 5 yet.
Like I said, next time I think we should really break down Appmon.
We're definitely not done with Appmon, and there's a lot more to go over in the future. Let's just go with that. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm Mark. Thanks again for coming. Bye.
Bye.